Yo, what up, SMT Nation? What up, Dennis? What up, Moose?
Not too much. Just happy to be on the show. A lot of interesting topics that went on this week that I'm sure we're going to get into.
Dude, the block is hot, bro, as they say. Moose, tell him the block is hot, bro.
Oh, damn. Here we go. Oh, damn. Here
we got a Moose sighting, ladies and gentlemen. Middle of the week. Yes, the claps, bro. The
claps. Clapping.
Speaking of clapping, Verizon's clapping their customers with some fees, bro. He kicked the music, DJ.
There it is.
What up, B?
Oh, I'm ready for you, boy. I'm ready for you.
You ready for me?
Yeah, I'm ready for you.
What does that mean?
I'm ready.
It means let's get ready to rumble.
I'm ready for you, boy. Man, there's too much to talk about, man. Too much.
Right. What's going on? What are we talking about, guys?
Okay. Let's start off from the beginning. Sneed, let's make it happen. Let's do this.
All right, we got two pieces of Verizon news, a piece of T-Mobile news, and then we have the Galaxy S24 launch. So we got all that tonight.
Oh shit! Too much shit.
That's right.
No ookla tonight.
What's that?
No ookla tonight.
Did I? Yeah, we could do the ookla thing if we got time. I'm just thinking that we're probably going to run out of time. I only have 1 hour.
We're running out of time.
I literally. I mean, we could try. We'll see. Our conversations do kind of extend sometimes, so
yeah.
We'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll do our best. All right.
So,
I'm
ready for this.
Real quick, let me do some shout outs. We already got super chats, in the pregame. So shout out to Jose, my brother, and always supporting me, man. Thank you for all that you do. Big shout out to him. He said, "What up, man?" And then Rich Z also with the super chat. Dennis, do you see AT&T bringing 5G plus to Morgantown? That one's for Dennis. Go ahead.
Yeah, I see them bringing it to any of their serviceable areas that was covered in LT previously.
Morgantown, West Virginia.
Yeah, why not? It's a perfect area for AT&T to sell fixed wireless to. There's like no internet providers out there, so it makes sense for them to.
Oh, it's one of those dry spots or whatever.
Yeah.
No DSL, no cable, no nothing.
I mean, they got some options, but it's very limited within the zip code, and it's not good. Like it's not like it's modernized DOCSIS 3.1 with mid splits or anything.
Right. What up, Steven? Tech Tim, Wiz? Thank you guys for coming by tonight. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate you. All right, first story of the night. I wanted to make sure I framed this properly because I think this is the best way to look at it. What Verizon has done over the last 2 years, so like this year, last year, and a little bit, in 22. Verizon didn't want to raise all the pricing on all their plans at the same time. What they wanted to do, apparently, in terms of their plan, was raise the rate on a per line basis on all legacy plans, but I think they wanted to do it in phases, meaning, this generation of old legacy unlimited plans, then we'll do this other, set of legacy plans. So basically, all legacy plans saw price hikes. They just did it in like a staggered or a phased rollout. All right, so the news from CNET broke today that Verizon was going to raise prices. The dollar amount is a little bit hefty. The recency of these plans is really interesting too. And, my 2017 unlimited lines, those got increased like a year ago. The previous announcement for price hikes were to like the above unlimited, beyond unlimited. You guys remember that generation? It was right before like the get more, do more, play more. So like it's been a phase by stage rollout of price increases to all legacy plans. We also got the news 2 weeks ago about business legacy plans also seeing price increases. So consumer prices, business prices, basically all the legacy plans have all been hit. This time, instead of it being like that normal $3 price hike, these plans got hit with a $4 price hike. So the 5G Get More, the 5G Play More, the 5G Do More, and then the 5G Starter Limited plans, all confirmed prices increasing by $4 per line starting March 1st. I don't see any other plans mentioned on this particular article, so we'll just leave it at that for now unless we get more information later. I just don't think there's any other plans left that haven't been touched. So I feel that's kind of how things have played out. That's kind of my perspective. I think that's the right way to look at it. I think we should talk about the dollar amount, though, right? Moose, I want to start there. Most of the price increases we saw previously for the legacy plans came in at $3 price line increase. Why $4? Why on these plans $4?
And by the way, these plans are more expensive than the legacy ones, right?
Yeah.
Than the previous time.
Yeah.
This is very interesting that you don't think that they're going to go and revisit the previous phase plans and upgrade, or not upgrade, but increase the price even further. Come on, guys.
Yeah,
this
but
is very simple. This is
Moose, talk to me about this. Talk to me about this number, right? Starter Unlimited, if I remember correctly, was $70 a line.
Okay, $70.
Okay. And then it was $5. No, it was $10 more for the
$70.
More. Yeah, it was $70.
Oh, no auto pay though. No auto pay.
I just remember the advertised price. It was 70, I think.
I think it was 65.
Yeah, 65 with auto pay. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm tracking.
With auto pay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Do More and Play More were priced the same. They had like a difference in hotspot data, something like that, like priority data or something. It was a very small nuance difference, and I think that was $10 more. And then it was the Get More. Was their I don't know, what would you call that? Like the God tier plan or whatever, the highest premium plan at the time. I think that came in at $85 or $90.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So if you have a single line of Get More, I mean you're more expensive than their current offer for their most premium plan.
Unbelievable.
You really got to like your Get More plan and all that comes with it. And if you aren't using all those things, you might actually save money by going to the what is it, the Plus?
See, I've had this debate where all carriers prefer that you're on the most current plan because they are building all of their features, all of the 5G SA core, all the different things to the latest and greatest plans. For example, right, the AT&T Premier plan has the ability, if you're in a 5G SA market, for your line to be activated with 5G SA. Now, we can say that T-Mobile allows anybody and everybody that has 5G SA capabilities to have 5G SA, right? But in the future, I'm pretty sure that depending on your plan, price point, rate plan, whatever, right? You're going to be in a different network slice. You're going to be in a totally different prioritization level. There's no way that moving forward is going to be the exact same way as how it was in LTE. So, if it makes sense to upgrade in a sense to the new plans because they're cheaper, might as well do it now, right? But it also is an opportunity for the folks listening to shop around. Because now if you realize that, hey, for the same amount of money, I can be going to another carrier, why am I not taking advantage of the fact that I can shop around? Right?
Because no other carrier has a better plan than 5G Get More?
Well, again, going to Sneed's point, if you're not utilizing all those benefits,
then you're shopping.
Right.
Okay, you're shopping for another carrier that's going to give you what that the Ultimate doesn't give. We already know pricing is very much in line across all three MNOs. So what are you going to save by moving?
Not necessarily. So if hypothetically you work for a company that offers a discount, or you work for as like a nurse or whatever, right? There are other carriers that offer better discounts and will give you a better price.
So you're saying that this
And
price
a worse
increase,
network experience.
you're
Well,
saying
that's
that this,
debatable.
right,
That's
right.
not debatable. No, it's
But
not. It's
you're,
not debatable.
but the price
Absolutely
increase
debatable.
creates the
No,
opportunity
it's
for
not.
shopping.
Say that again, Sneed.
The price increase creates the opportunity for churn.
It will. I'm telling you this
Listen,
right now. It will
everybody's
create a
increasing
churn
prices.
bubble.
Everybody's increasing prices though. So I mean, so this is getting
I have,
tiresome.
see, I
Every
got one
time
problem.
somebody increases, every time a carrier increases prices, it becomes breaking news, as if the entire industry hasn't already told America, we all three, we are going to raise prices. Why is this news? I don't understand.
Well, the thing
Well, like
with it
we
be
already know this was coming.
right, but my only issue with this, I'll be honest with you. There's so much value in Get More. I actually feel like people should pay the $4 and just be like, it's all good. I'm getting a lot in this plan, so who cares?
I completely
My only
agree.
issue is my only issue is these plans aren't old, dog. They're
The
not old at
legacy,
all. I mean, I know they're officially legacy, right? Officially, but they're not old. Like people were buying this plan like a year ago.
well, here's the thing, Sneed. The 5G Get More plan is the only one in America across all three carriers that still offers all of the streaming and all these perks included in the plan.
Facts.
Everybody else kind of went away from it. So if you're a Verizon executive, you know that it's pretty much buffet style. The customer who's on that plan can consume as much as they like. They have access to these streaming partners. They got the Google Play Pass and all this other stuff. When your current offering is a la carte, why wouldn't you want to do what you can to at least get people to consider moving to the newer pricing? Now, to your point, Sneed, if you're looking at the differences in cost between the Ultimate and the 5G Get More, and you're looking at what the Get More offers you, it still offers you more. Even the $4 increase, I mean, unless you have multiple lines, if it's a single line, maybe two lines, it's still worth the cost, because you're not going to get what the 5G Get More plan gives you with any other carrier. AT&T doesn't offer jack as it pertains to,
Modern day plans.
streaming. They don't offer anything, and they got the worst network of the three in terms of 5G mid-band rollout. Yeah, I mean, they do. They are the furthest behind
I wouldn't say they have
on
the
5
worst
on
network.
5G mid-band. Why not? They are the furthest.
Yeah, I would
They
say
are
they
the
have the
furthest.
least amount of 5G mid-band. Correct.
And so because of that, compared to their competitors, they have the worst network of the three. They don't have nearly as much 5G mid-band as everyone else. So you're not going to get the streaming perks. You're not going to get the network experience. What are you going to say? $10? Well, you discount, okay, nurses, all right, $15. And what are you getting in return? T-Mobile, we talk about the differences between Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile's networks all the time. They are starting to punt on value and on streaming perks too. Where are you going to go?
Man, this is crazy.
Especially when the entire industry already said we are all going to raise prices. Like they're all going to do it.
They're all kind of nodding to each other to raise prices.
So what's the churn bubble then? Well, I mean, customers going to go to prepaid? All right.
Yeah,
well,
but Verizon does have the highest churn in the industry.
Not by much. It was
Right.
.89. I'm sorry, .87 and .9. I mean, we're splitting hairs right now, guys.
Right, B. But historically, they were number one for years.
They do have the highest churn.
And historically, people were willing to pay way more for phone service than they are now. So
they
I mean,
have the highest churn.
You're right.
B.
It's .9 last quarter. It was .9.
What is
and
.9
T-Mobile was
out of
at .87.
What is .9 out of the highest subscriber base in the United States?
Listen, man, I understand. I can do math.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying
so
is,
they're the highest churn. This is simple math.
Okay, I understand that, but we're talking about .84, .87, and .9. None of these carriers are very far.
Significantly
They're not very far
lower
apart.
subscriber bases.
You're absolutely right. AT&T has the least amount of solutions in the industry. Then you have T-Mobile, then you have Verizon. You're absolutely right. I understand everything you're saying. I acknowledge it. What I'm saying is all three carriers are very, very comparable when it comes to churn. .84, .87, and .9. They're not super far apart. We're talking about three carriers that have already let people know, hey, churn, like prices are going up. Where are you going to go to get a better offering for streaming services if you're on 5G Get More? What company is going to offer you better? Now, if you don't want those things, there are other plans that are available with Verizon that will save you money.
Hey, B, could you take this one from Tech Guy 32? It's directed at you. He said AT&T raised their price 99 cents, added some hotspot data. Verizon is adding a $4 increase, nothing added. Your response to that?
They added 99 cents to the price point and hotspot data on plans that were already the worst in the industry. That's my response.
Hold on a second, B. You just said AT&T had the worst network and they have the worst plans?
Okay, tell me I'm wrong. Are they not the furthest behind on the 5G mid-band rollout?
Nobody cares about the 5G mid-band. Literally.
Yes, they do. Okay, so
only network enthusiasts.
When did they stop caring? When did they stop caring?
Only network enthusiasts care about it.
When did they stop caring? When AT&T became third?
Yeah,
Dennis, let me hear you on this. This is crazy. Dennis, let me hear this. This is crazy.
All right, so I just want to see, you both have been making some great points. I've been taking notes. I'm going to run through them real quick, and then I'll let you guys respond.
Nice, Dennis.
So first question was, why did they increase the price on these plans? That was like the first question that kicked this all off on these particular plans. And me personally, I think it's just because of strictly the fact that they are the ones that include the streaming services, which add value. But we've seen those streaming services increase prices, so I'm sure Verizon has had to pay extra, and so they're passing it on to the consumer. Second part, Moose, to your point about updating plans, so all the carriers wanting to update users off legacy plans to modern plans. I think there's a different factor in regards to this. Specifically, I believe it's in regards to the bill codes within their legacy billing systems and maintaining the knowledge base around that within their customer care department. I know from internal sources that Comcast, for example, has to pay money each time they update their bill codes for their legacy systems. Third point, for the shopping around aspect, I don't think the plan is going to be really what matters. There is a human element and emotional element here. I've recently gotten a taste of what it's like to have a little bit of financial shock, and it changes the rationale behind when I'm making the decision makers or my decision making when looking around. And also, we got to remember that there's a lot of lucrative deals still out right now by the other carriers for new phones. And even if there are short promotional discounts, they still make the comparison look a lot cheaper, especially when we start talking about convergence of bundling with the fixed wireless products from a cost saving aspect, to the point where it may be so cheap that they can buy their streaming services individually and still be coming out ahead with more. And then to the fourth point, be in regards to people wanting to pay, consumers willing to pay more. In the past is not the present. As I previously touched on, there's nothing today being offered to consumers that's justifying the increase in rates at the present moment. T-Mobile, for example, is just now seeing the returns on their 5G build out now that the majority of the consumers have 5G capable handsets and that their mid-band has reached a majority of their customers, while Verizon and AT&T are still not done with the build out to pay dividends on the experience, as well as as well as the majority of their consumer base not having capable handsets to support all the technology that they had to deploy due to the way the spectrum was divided. And that's where I was at as far as keeping up. You guys can feel free to respond.
Verizon's 5G penetration rate with respect to phones, I think they reported well over 60%. So, I mean, I think the majority of their customer base does have 5G capable phones that can take advantage of the latest and greatest that they've built out. I mean, they do.
And as far as like I think they're at like close to 70%, B.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, so that addresses that point. As far as pricing is concerned, this is the first time these particular plans have had a price increase at all. And if you can go and do a la carte with Hulu and Disney and all these other people and pay less than a $4 increase, then more power to you. But I want whatever deal you can find, because good luck. Because the content providers are increasing prices as well. So I challenge that thought and say you're not going to be able to do a la carte with these streaming services and pay less than the $4 increase that Verizon's asking for. You're not.
Well, two parts. Remember that in this scenario, I'm saying that you're switching to someone that's going to be providing you a cheaper rate. Like, so if you're, let's just say all in with Verizon, you're at like $100. Okay, you're at $100 for this plan, and you're paying, I don't know, $50 with your cable provider for internet. So $150 together, right? But you're able to work out a real sweetheart deal with T-Mobile. You get on their what is it, Go 5G Plus or whatever, and get the T-Mobile Home Internet, and you're coming out at like $100 for the two. Now you got $50 worth of wiggle room to get your streaming services, and you might not even necessarily need all the things that were included in that particular plan. Like for me personally, all I care about is Hulu. In fact, I would derive more value from having Hulu with no ads and just having that. I don't care about Disney Plus. I don't care about ESPN Plus. I don't care about the arcade perk or the Verizon cloud storage. I also just want to be clear, though, that I don't think $4 is unreasonable as to Sneed's point, because I do think the plans provide a lot of value, and I understand the reason behind why it needs to increase, because T-Mobile's done similar things to legacy plans when it comes to Netflix on us. So I'm not saying that the increase isn't justified. I'm just explaining that from a consumer standpoint, and going back to the whole shopping around aspect, not much about this particular price increase necessarily translates clearly to the consumer, or at least the messaging around it isn't quite clear. I don't think, personally.
I mean, what do you think Verizon should come on and tell people about a $4 price increase?
I think Verizon should straight up say that, we're, due to the increased cost of Hulu and Disney Plus, we're increasing the cost for these lines by $4 for that reason. Very clearly communicate it, similar to when T-Mobile had to communicate the Netflix price increases for people that were paying for Netflix on us.
Okay, that's fair. So this was just released today, and to my knowledge, it doesn't look like, I didn't see anything from Verizon specifically. So this is probably some sort of
out.
I haven't seen anything as far as an email. I know I've got the 5G Get More plan. I ain't get no email yet. So maybe you're right. Maybe that stuff is either forthcoming or whatever the case may be. But if this was just released today, I mean, it seems like maybe it was leaked to CNET. None of these people, I didn't see in any of the articles that have been posted so far a direct quote from Verizon at all.
Yeah, we'll
this is what happened.
Unofficial leaks, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, perhaps those types of statements are coming down the pipe. But even if they do, I mean, people have already been shopping around. That's where we are as a country right now when it comes to telco. People were already doing that. So if that didn't stop T-Mobile from increasing prices, AT&T from increasing prices, Verizon from increasing prices, then it's fair game at this point. And consumers will decide where they want to go. If they decide that they want to do prepaid or MVNO or whatever the case may be, who has the most prepaid and MVNO pricing contracts right now for service? Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you cover what you can and you let people decide. I don't think that's a horrible strategy. You cover what you can and you let people decide. But it doesn't seem to me, to your point, Dennis, and I agree, I think you articulated it well. I don't think $4 is unwarranted or unsubstantiated based on what's in the 5G Get More plan, and based on the fact that we know the content providers have also been increasing prices over the last year to year and a half, and will probably continue to do that as well. So if they're, passing these price increases on to the customer in hopes that they'll either stay with those plans or consider going to the newer pricing, then I don't know. I don't see a problem with that. I really don't.
I think that in an ideal world, in my opinion, I think a better move that Verizon could have done is, because it's clear that Verizon doesn't want people on these plans. They don't want to lose revenue to these streaming providers any longer, and it's pretty clear with like how the my plans are structured and how those are handled. I think it would have been nice if Verizon maybe had a temporary incentive offer similar to what they did with the BYOD promotional credits for new customers when they brought their own devices for the legacy customers to help transition them or direct them into the plans that Verizon wants to get them onto, whether that be because of the improved experience or whatever the reason is behind why Verizon wants to do it. That could make switching a lot less painful for customers, I think. But yeah,
T-Mobile's not doing that.
Well, T-Mobile's done some other things to try to help soften the blow, right? Like we saw them add additional content with the Hulu. We saw the Apple Plus, and then we saw like things like Paramount Plus happen, right? Like T-Mobile has thrown in other tidbits, even if they were only for 12 months, to try to help soften the blow whenever they make some changes. And so far, based off communications, nothing along those lines is necessarily happening. But I mean, I feel like I covered everything in detail in regards to the matter.
Here's what it is. I mean, people decide they'll do what's best for them, but I think the carriers, it's a business. The carriers are going to do what's best for them too. So, $4 is not unreasonable. I mean, especially when everybody has declared price increases, including the streaming services that are bundled into a lot of these plans. You go get them by themselves, you're still better off getting them from a carrier. So it is what it is.
So I've already talked to a couple of my peoples that still have Verizon, and they have 8 lines. Okay. They're in a situation where times are tough. They are very tight on the cash, and a $32 increase
It's heavy.
is a big deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there is a massive discrepancy between what B's seeing and what I'm seeing, but people that are affected by this plan and they have multiple lines, they are definitely going to notice, and they're definitely going to do something about it.
And they have options such as switching plans. Of course, if they want to switch carriers, they can. If they decide that they want to assess, how much they need, 8 lines. I respect all of those things. I get it. I acknowledge all of those things. I get it.
Can we clarify something real quick, Sneed?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I'm not uber familiar with Verizon's mix and match because I don't have multiple lines with them and don't really partake. But if a customer, in the case of Moose's example, a person has 8 lines, right? Could a customer switch like 7 of those lines over to the new My plans if they're cheaper and more affordable, and then keep 1 line on the legacy plan?
Yes.
Okay.
So then what's the big deal?
Wait a minute. Hold up.
You have options to be able to make things affordable or more affordable if you like. I don't understand.
I thought that you can't have a mix and match situation with a legacy plan.
You can only add lines to legacy accounts. So
no, what if I understood Dennis? He's saying, let's say
he's
8
saying
lines.
you would downgrade them to like the new plan.
7 of those lines, they go to the news plan.
Yeah, you'd put them on My plan.
Yeah, they put them on the My plan.
I can't confirm if you can do that. I know that when you add lines, you can add the new ones. So like, let's say you had the 8 lines, you wanted to add 2 more, you would be adding My plan versions of the lines.
Does anyone in the community know? Because like I'm not sure. Like, because if what I'm saying is true, then it's not too bad because you only need 1 line to be on the legacy.
I'm gonna guess no.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna like if I had to guess, like let's say $5 is on the line, we bet $5. I would bet $5. You can't.
I don't want to bet because I don't know. So, but either that or like you could downgrade. I'm assuming you could at least downgrade within the existing old structure. Like, if not, if you have 8 lines on Get More Throw, or are they all getting the $4 increase regardless? The Start get it too?
Yeah.
Oh shucks. Okay.
See, that at that point, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, that no.
Yeah, if you're a Start Unlimited customer, you're getting the hell out of that plan because, I mean, you're already at no value, you got nothing. I
Raging
mean, you don't
Dusty
even get
came in.
5G Ultra Wideband, you know?
Yeah, Raging Dusty came in. He's saying that you could move 7 of the 8 lines over to the new plans.
Oh, snap, okay, alright, that's pretty cool. See, you know, Verizon, they have played nice with those types of things. You know, you could say what you want, at least they let you keep your legacy plan, right? You just pay the price increase.
Yeah, I know
Um
AT&T didn't do that. That's why
Right,
I
and then
wasn't sure.
T-Mobile, you know, they tried to migrate everybody's plans, you know, and
Yeah, I
tried
mean,
to
I
switch
just
everybody
I
over.
don't understand. I mean,
I mean, look, if you
we gotta
really,
carry
really
we
if
gotta
you
carry
really like your
charging.
plan if you really like your plan at Verizon, they'll let you keep it, you just gotta pay.
Yeah, I mean, we got T-Mobile charging people $5 just to pay the bill in the store.
Yeah.
And we're like, I
They
mean,
charge you $5 to
this
pay
is
your bill on the phone and
yeah, like
automated system,
this
bro.
is ridiculous, man. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, but that
I mean,
one
every time there's a price increase at Verizon, it's like it's sold as the sky is falling. When you have the pink guys who've been raping customers for the last 2 years, and the customers haven't cared. They're still adding lines. They're still the leader, and Moose is still saying they're going to add 4 million people in 90 days. I mean, people don't care. They don't seem to care when T-Mobile does whatever they want to do.
yeah,
And
but
you
the
got
Yo,
Verizon
scope
who's talking about a $4 increase on plans that haven't even been touched. And we're saying that it's going to be our turn bubble. All right. Well, I mean, maybe it will be. I can't predict the future. I don't know. But what I do know is that you had one carrier, Verizon, .9. You had T-Mobile at .87, which was an increase in their churn. So if we're going to talk about bubbles, they had one too. And then of course you had AT&T, which has been very consistent at .84. They've been the ones that have defied logic and not offered any value at all other than network access. And for whatever reason, they're still growing. And they
yeah,
haven't
but they're
given
hitting
they've
any
had
value,
phone deals. They've
but
had
they're
phone
hitting
deals.
with the important thing for the customer.
which is
The thing
phones.
that
They've been
resonates
giving
with
away
them is the
phones.
promotion, right.
Yeah, they've been giving away phones. So I mean, you pick your poison. You try to accommodate the customer as much as you can. But again, these price increases seem warranted based on what the plans offer, especially seeing as how these particular batches of plans have not been touched by a price increase at all.
But B, in regards to the T-Mobile charging $5 for the over the phone payments, I know we were joking, but like we gotta call spades here. That the scope of that charge only impacts a very minute segment of the customer base. I would argue that most people in 2024 aren't calling in over the phone to make a payment. They're going to do it online or through the app,
All right. Well, to that
credit or
point,
debit card or something like that. And to also, let me just finish. And to also expand upon this, I just want to say that when we talked about that news, I did yell about how it was still frustrating to see, because I talked about, and I specifically talked about how there are situations where you may have to talk to a support agent to make a payment due to some failure in the system. I personally had one of those experiences happen with my Verizon Home Internet. I think I talked about how when I came back from my vacation, the auto pay failed and it was giving me a hard time re-adding my card on file. So I mean, fees and increases are always going to suck, but the scope of the impact or the way that it impacts is a little bit different, right? Like $5 for a miscellaneous call in to pay one time an individual charge is different than $4 for every single line on an account that has these legacy plans, which I don't know what the percentages are, but I would imagine that the scope of the impact is larger than the impact for something like that.
can we apply that same logic to the 5G Get More plan, which when it first rolled out, everyone was saying no one was going to take. So although we, to Sneed, to your point, we don't know exactly what the take rate is on that plan. It's been said on this particular podcast that that plan hasn't gotten very good traction. So how many people is this particular price increase really affecting based on the logic you just articulated? I mean, the goalpost moves every time we have a discussion about these carriers. You have one carrier in T-Mobile that has done whatever they wanted to do to the customer. And despite that, every single quarter they continue to grow. So I don't think a $4 increase on plans that haven't been touched from a pricing standpoint is that much out of the way, especially since we now know, based on what Rage and Dusty has said, you have the ability to mix and match. You can keep the plan if you like, or you can migrate. There are prepaid options. There are MVNO options. We already know that. I acknowledge that that's going to be, something that a customer can choose to do. But when you have a carrier who has done everything that they can to provide, let's just be honest, a horrible experience for customers, and they continue to add customers, how is a $4 increase all of a sudden, oh my God, this guy's falling in turn bubble, turn bubble, turn bubble? Can we stop? Can we just stop being so disingenuous about these types of discussions? It doesn't make sense. The same thing applies to a 99-cent price increase from AT&T. That seems pretty reasonable when you got Carrier in pink doing what they've done the last 3 years. Multiple rounds of layoffs for employees, multiple security breaches, multiple little fees that they want to add in for stuff like paying your bill. I mean, guys, yet they continue to grow. If the customer wants the service, they have said with their actions and their wallets that they'll continue to add lines, right?
They're the Pied Piper, man. They're the 5G goat.
Yeah, okay. $4 is fine.
Says they're the fastest.
$4 seems fine to me then, based on what we know, based on what we said. $4 seems just fine. So does 99 cents. There you go, Moose. So does 99 cents, right? I know, to your point.
Let's go ahead and transition to story number 2. Verizon writes off $5.8 billion on enterprise as sales slow. Story out of Bloomberg. Todd Shields, the author. Antonia Mufarech. All right, so Verizon writing down the value of its business services division by $5.8 billion, a sign of the company's declining enterprise operations and continually ailing landline business. The wireless carrier said in a filing Wednesday that the impairment charge was due to an overall decline in demand for its business group, as well as continuing competitive and macroeconomic pressure. As a result of the write-down, Verizon said the balance of its business unit was $1.7 billion at the end of 2023. The decline is tied to the telco giant's legacy wireline operations, landline or fixed-line communication services to businesses through copper or fiber wires. This segment has steadily seen demand drop over the past 2 decades as Verizon's mobile business service has grown. Moose, jump in.
So a lot of people have a misconception about what exactly this means, but let me give you guys an idea about what exactly this is. So we're talking not just about, POTS lines, plain old telephone service, right? We're also talking about legacy VPN. We're talking about T1 circuits, right? Like backups, old school backup circuits.
Old wireline.
That's old stuff, right? Yeah. Copper, right? This just shows the massive decline in legacy technology, which is good in the sense, right? Because more and more customers are now upgrading to SD-WAN solutions, right? They don't need IP set tunnels and all this other nonsense, right? They just get everything through the clouds now, right? So yes, Verizon is the first to write down, but they were not, in 2024, I say, because really Lumen is in crisis mode. Mm-hmm. Lumen is actually on the brink of bankruptcy because they have so much debt, right? And a lot of the reason why they have so much debt is because clearly they haven't been able to do this digital transformation that people have been talking about for many years, right? And what I mean by that is going from legacy services to over the top or SD-WAN, whatever you want to call it, right? So it's not shocking to me. Needed to happen. It was going to eventually happen. It seems like Verizon's the first domino to fall, but they're not going to be the only domino to fall in 2024. I mean, look at Altice, right? We didn't even talk about this yet, but they huge decrease in the rack rate pricing for fiber and for cable. That just shows the times right now. I'm anticipating that they're going to be acquired sometime, soon. There's no way that they're going to be continuing to do this situation, and they're not profitable right now. But
they got problems. They really do.
Verizon's, the first to admit that, hey, we need to write down this. Basically, what that means is that it's not as valuable. But anyways, go ahead.
B, you want to jump in?
I think Moose articulated it really well. And I agree. Well done, Moose. I don't have a whole lot to add to that because he nailed it. Verizon was the first, but they definitely won't be the last. This is just, it sounds like just decommissioning of old stuff. They were forthright. They got it out there. I don't think this is anything that,
Just business transition is
yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. It doesn't mean the Verizon business is the sky is falling and all of a sudden, oh, they're not growing. I don't think that's what it is at all. I think that this has been something that's been ongoing for several years now. And despite that, you've still had a profitable side of the business with respect to Verizon business. You've still seen them report growth in wireless. You've still seen them report growth in fixed wireless access and Fios business and all that other kind of stuff. Same thing in consumer. Yes, I know they've had issues with consumer phone ads. I get it, but there's still been growth. There's still been growth in Fios and consumer. There's still been growth in fixed wireless. I think they'll be fine. This is just a transition in technologies, just like Moose said.
All right, let me get Dennis in here.
The only thing I just want to say is we've all agreed on this panel, whenever we talked about enterprise before, that enterprise really is the bread and butter for these telco companies as far as where the monetization is concerned, or future monetization growth is concerned. So I do think it's a little concerning that Verizon's seeing sales slow / they're reducing the value in that space, because right now I know they're decomming a lot of things, but with the investments in One Fiber, I would expect growth to offset any losses in business.
I think that's a different business, though. I think technically that you're talking about MCI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's technically different.
And also one other thing, legacy services are so much more expensive than the new SD-WAN offerings. Just to give you an idea of how cheap they are compared to the legacy, it's like a reduction of 85%.
Moose, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
In your humble opinion, how realistic is it to convert 90% of these operations to modern mobility services in some way, shape, or form?
It's not mobility services. We're talking about a wireline offering, period, here.
Okay, in terms of a transition to fiber optic, different methodology of solutions. Like, maybe some of this is hospitals, maybe some of this agency, enterprise, government. Maybe it just needs updating.
Do you guys remember the press release that happened in the second quarter from Verizon that they got one of the big federal agencies? I believe it was the CIA or something, or FBI.
They nailed the FAA, they nailed the Navy, they nailed Marines. They've hit like everything.
Right. So that is a digital transformation.
Right.
And that is significantly cheaper than what they had before. Significantly
cheaper. It requires an input investment initially, but just operationally, it's more efficient and lower in cost.
It's lower in cost for the customer, but it's worse off for the business because you're not as profitable in the same thing. That's the same thing that's happening with AT&T. Because
I was going to say, where does AT&T fall into this? Because I know they're going through similar transitional things.
Yeah, keep in mind, AT&T has more of this problem. They have more legacy than anybody else.
True.
So it's very simple situation.
You gotta imagine there's going to be a field day at earnings. The questions that are going to be coming in. Like, expect Eugene to probably rub this in Verizon's face on January 26th or whatever.
What in the God's name is he going to be able to say?
I swear, B, I guarantee you he says some dumb shit about it. I guarantee.
I mean, yeah, and what is he going to say?
Our competitors have to deal with blah blah blah. We're just pulling ahead.
That's because T-Mobile doesn't have any enterprise customers. They don't have any sales to write off.
He's gonna say it. I'm telling you.
Whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a necessary evil. To Moose's point,
right?
Newer technologies definitely cheaper than the older technologies. That's the way it is. But these write-offs, all this kind of stuff, all of the legacy carriers are going to go through this. Verizon just did it first.
How much is left in order to get this all cleaned up and
Oh,
moved on from.
It's going to be years in the making, probably,
Years
in
in the
my
this
making.
is a
estimation.
big, long. People have been theorizing that it's going to take
2035,
at least until 2030,
2030. What do
and
you think?
that's like
What's your estimation on that?
barely scratching the surface, guys.
2030 B?
To be honest with you, I really don't know, but it's not going to be quick because the carriers, none of them can focus just on decom. They've got to continue to build out the new stuff and maintain the new stuff because decom doesn't really earn you money. It's a expense. So nobody's really going to focus on that, at least in my opinion. Based on what
Yeah.
I know about businesses, just regular business 101,
Yeah.
you just can't focus on this stuff. It's going to take time. I don't know if it's going to take until 2030. I'm really not sure, but I do know this is not something that's going to be heavily prioritized over, the initiatives that, the carriers want to try to get done with respect to growth and, profitability and trying to get the new stuff out there. So
Can I ask
it's par for the
clarification?
course.
I
Yeah,
just
go
want to
ahead.
ask for clarification though. In the article, it says the enterprise sales are slowing though. Like
Yeah, that would be the macroeconomics, the competition. They cited those items.
right, but what I was gonna say was to me that doesn't make sense because as you're getting these people onto, even if you're losing some money on the base service when you transition them over to a better technology, there should be additional enterprise related services now that you're able to monetize once that connection becomes established. Like
I think some are just they're just terminating services and they're not taking anything else.
Yeah, the sales of T1s are slowing. I think that's what it's trying to say. And so
Mhm.
because of that, the value of that infrastructure is being written off because it's in the process of being decommissioned because sales of those older technologies are continuing to slow.
Okay.
Nobody's buying that stuff anymore is what I interpreted the article
So
to be able
again,
to try to
it
say.
continues to increase the cost of operation. You're selling it less, therefore you're generating less revenue from it, but you're still maintaining it.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. All
Yeah,
right.
it seems like a losing proposition to me.
Yeah, so I mean write it off so
Mhm.
that you can get it off the books now. That helps to speed up the decommissioning process and all that kind of thing. You get it out there before you have the earnings to allow the market to do what it's going to do. It's going to overreact. That's what it does. Take the hit now,
By the
and
way,
then when you get there,
this was a 5-year review process. This was not something that was done on a whim. They
yeah,
had
it
been
wasn't.
studying this for years, so, like, they were ready to make this move.
Yep. But I
Yeah.
mean, of course, the market does what it does. It tends to be a little jumpy. So I mean, it's going to do what it's going to do. But I imagine when quarterly earnings release, I think it's next week if I'm not mistaken. Sneed, you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
but I'm sure fourth quarter numbers will still be
I think
good
they're gonna
enough
be
for, yeah, they're going to be good
yeah.
enough to. I got Verizon on the come up.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have a great Q4, and this is just gonna be one of those things that they'll probably mention at earnings and just be like, "Hey, look, we ran this study. We calculated this, that. This is what we're doing moving forward, and we're a better business for it."
Yep.
What else are they gonna say? What up, EM?
Yo,
Go ahead,
it,
have at it, bro.
I was just going to say, I think an important thing to note is that all of the industry analysts still have Verizon as a net positive and continuing to increase what's their like buy rating or whatever
Yeah.
that they use, that metric that they use despite
Mm-hmm.
this
Well,
announcement. I
well,
mean,
let me put it to you like this: if you are a true investor and you've been buying Verizon shares prior to this news, let's say Verizon pulls back 5%, you're buying more Verizon.
Yep.
Like what literally changed in the last 24 hours in terms of the Verizon business? You weren't buying Verizon because of T1 lines. You weren't buying shares of Verizon because of telephone lines, hard lines. You were buying them because of broadband growth and margins and revenues. I
yeah,
don't think any of that has changed in terms of their core business.
yeah. And the other thing that's important to note, and this is unanimous across every telco, is that as you have telecom companies decomming copper, abandoning it, saying, "Hey, we're done," the cost of the still existing copper continues to rise because then that whoever they're partnered with for that last mile has to maintain that old infrastructure, so they end up charging an extremely high rate for that service. So it's in every telco's best interest to follow in Verizon's footsteps here and just decom and get rid of it.
Facts. All right, guys. Next story, and then we're going to get to the Galaxy event. T-Mobile is going back to $60 per month pricing for the home internet service. All right, so new customers looking to switch to T-Mobile 5G home internet will be paying more. No longer a promise that the carrier won't raise rates again in the future. So there's two things that are happening in this announcement. A price increase, sort of. It's kind of like a return to old pricing. And then the price lock guarantee no longer exists. And again, I want to preface this again because I said it already. I said it in my video earlier. Dude, you know what's crazy? I know I speak very clearly. I know that I use very descriptive language, and people still somehow miss the most important elements that I discuss in my videos. And I think what happens is they don't watch the whole thing. They just start typing. But I clearly said in my video earlier today, new T-Mobile home internet customers only. Existing T-Mobile home internet customers are not impacted by this. So
Yet.
just throwing that out there. Right. But that's what we know, Moose. That's the details we got. Right. So T-Mobile has confirmed that they are going to increase the cost of the T-Mobile home internet to new customers to $60 per month. So previously it was $55, right? And that price increase represents, I mean, I call it a nominal increase. It's not massive. It's $5. Home internet to me, and I know Dennis, you feel the same way, is a utility. We treat it like water. We treat it like electricity. It's like a requirement in order to compete in the workplace, in order to do your job, in order to be educated, in order to engage, entertainment, connectivity, communications, all those things. New changes for the T-Mobile home internet pricing will begin January 18th. $60 per month includes a $5 auto pay discount. So actually, it'll be $65 if you don't put in a checking account or debit card for auto pay. And we know about the breaches and all that stuff.
Yeah, which is risky to do. Sneed, I have a question. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, bro.
So, do you remember what the pricing is for home internet with Verizon?
I do.
So, what are the pricing? I know they have two plans. What are the pricing? So what's
$70.
What's the pricing with the auto pay?
I think auto pay is a $10 discount.
All right. So what is it? 50 and 60?
Let me just double check because I know they've done a price increase as of August.
Yeah, I thought it was 45 and 55, but I don't know for sure. That's why I wanted
to. Yeah, and I want to make sure I do this because I know some folks are gonna, watch this and want to know the exact pricing. Okay, so looking at the base pricing, it's $35 a month if you have the wireless service. For the entry level plan, it's $45 for the plus plan. Why are they only okay? So yeah, $45 for the 5G Home Plus, $80 without any discounts. So no auto pay, no bundling, $80 a month for the plus, and $60 for the regular 5G Home with no discounts. So if you go ahead and auto pay, that'll save you $10 a month. And if you bundle with mobile and home, it saves you $15 a month.
Okay.
So that's pretty good. So that's up to $25 off. That's a pretty, but that's the way to do it. And the same thing with T-Mobile. If you bundle with them, they'll give you $10 off any plan that you have with T-Mobile. And if you have like their newer Go 5G plans, they'll give you 25 off, I think.
Okay. So in your mind, Sneed, would you say that pricing between those two carriers is relatively competitive?
Yes. Now, the one thing I'll give Verizon the edge on is the fact that they offer a plus tier option.
Agreed.
I think that is valuable. That brings value to the service. So I think that's a distinguishing factor. Also, just the simple fact of the network access, right?
Agreed.
QoS, QCI, port forwarding, NAT settings, and all those things. I still think Verizon's looks and feels like a real broadband option.
Agreed. So we have yet another product that is competitively priced. right? Well, I mean, we kind of just agreed that competitively priced between both of these particular carriers.
Yes.
So competitive pricing on the mobility plans for your phone services and whatnot. Competitive pricing with the home internet. What are we talking about?
Well, the pricing is one thing, B, but check this second part out.
Okay.
Existing T-Mobile home internet users will not see their prices increase, with the carrier having previously introduced a price lock promise of not raising prices for existing users. However, new users will get a price lock promise, but in a different way. They're not going to get to keep their pricing if the prices go up in the future. They will have the option of having T-Mobile pay the last month of service so they can leave and churn and go somewhere else if they don't want to pay the new price when T-Mobile raises prices on them in the future. So basically, not only is T-Mobile raising prices, but they're also abandoning price lock as it's previously structured. And last I checked, I think Verizon still is doing like a 3 to 5 year price guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
So
This feels
T-Mobile's
really
actually moving in a
dirty.
different direction.
This feels really dirty. Like, what do you mean? Price lock means instead of us just not bending you over in the future, we're gonna bend you over and you have the chance to leave, and we'll say hasta la vista. Like, that's not a price lock.
So hear me out on this, EM, and I obviously want to get your opinion on this. I believe that T-Mobile wants the ability to pull the same lever that Spectrum and Comcast and Verizon has pulled in the past. They have pulled those levers. However, the reason I don't think T-Mobile should have a right to pull that lever, I don't think their 5G home internet is very good. If I had to categorize T-Mobile's 5G home internet, it's obviously lesser than Verizon's. It's nowhere near a wireline connection. It's the weakest of all the offers. I
Yet
know some
they're
people say it works for them and it's good, but it doesn't look and feel like a real 5G home solution. And I'm Dennis, I know you've got all the details on how all that stuff works with respect to home internet and broadband, but like if you're going to act like a home broadband provider, can I get a speed guarantee? Can I get an uplink guarantee? Can I have port forwarding? Can I have, a NAT that I can control? Can I actually have like real home broadband tools and technologies? And can I get a better CPE? Or do I have to continue to deal with overheating trash can Nokia gateways? Can I even get an external antenna so my connection could be more stable? Can I have those things? Because if the answer is no, I can get those things from other providers.
Yeah, I
So
think
what's your
even
prediction?
Josh puts a good thing out there. AT&T Internet Air is better. Like it is a better solution for broadband than even the T-Mobile offering. I don't understand why it's taken them so long to get those basic broadband features.
I
What's
believe
taking them so long? They don't have to. They can give
I
people
believe tell me if you agree with this statement. I'm gonna let you go. I believe that T-Mobile is working off of equity they have with the consumer public. People still think that T-Mobile is a name that they can trust. Uncarrier, John Ledger, they came and disrupted the game. I think they're still gaining customers off of that
I
because
completely agree.
there's if you're using the T-Mobile home internet, I mean, I know so many people that have returned it because of, it just wasn't working out. It wasn't a quality experience. The CPE was a problem. There's so many X factors. And then T-Mobile tells us we're not dumping capital into our 5G home internet solutions. We're capital light. Go ahead.
I mean, you're right, Sneed. And to be honest, that's the part that makes me scratch my head because they've built a subpar product compared to their competitors, and they've told us we're not going to fix it, and we're not going to put any more additional capex into trying to improve it. We're just going to use quote unquote fallow capacity, if there is such a thing. So, yet and still, they continue to grow, right, Moose? They continue to grow. So,
Yeah.
what's the incentive for them to improve if they got the customer pretty much duped? They're going to continue to grow, right?
I'm good with paying for more chicken, but I'm gonna need more chicken, damn it.
Exactly. Are they going to provide the chicken that they? I mean, they're not interested in doing that anymore. So yet continue to grow. The customers continuing to reward them, and I think to your point, Sneed, I think you're right. They're still living off the equity of the past. How much longer is that going to continue to be a thing? I just told you guys, and I mean the data's there. You guys, feel free to fact check me. They had a churn bubble last quarter too. Their churn increased to 0.87. I'm not making that up. That's what they reported. I know 300ths of a point, still the difference between them and Verizon. I get it. I know we're gonna, really chomp on the bit and say Verizon's the worst, but we're talking about 300ths of a point.
See, there's so many different things here. I've been listening in on this one, and I have very strong opinions about T-Mobile Home Internet, and I don't believe that it's worth $60 or sorry, $65, and then with auto pay it's 55.
What's it
or
worth,
whatever.
Moose?
I completely agree.
I
Moose,
believe
what's it worth?
that T-Mobile Home Internet, because of how light, quote unquote, light it is, and by the way, the phones are going to be ripping on me on this one, and I don't care. Okay, I really don't care. This is a glorified hotspot. That's all it is. It's a goddamn trash can. Okay? It does not have the advanced features or even the basic features of a standard Wi-Fi router. Port forwarding, NAT type, all these other things that we keep talking about, man. Like, this is some basic goddamn stuff, man. Like, no joke. By the way, do you think that it has all the latest and greatest technology of the Wi-Fi 6 standard?
It might, but
It does
that's not
not
the
have
problem.
it. It
But
doesn't
okay,
have it.
so it doesn't have it. But like Moose, what you're talking about with the service, I mean, they're not putting money into the service. Like they're really, and actually here's where things kind of distinguish themselves between Verizon and T-Mobile in this. Verizon doesn't have a 10% convergence rate between mobile service adoption and the 5G home internet. Like they're not seeing that convergence for them yet. They haven't seen it. I think T-Mobile's very different. I think T-Mobile customers flock to this service. They really do want to see if it could work for them, and they do want to try it. I mean, I would estimate that their convergence rate is probably 3x that of Verizon's.
I mean, it should be. It should be. It's been out longer. I mean, it should
Their
Exactly. That's
sellers
another
are
factor.
incentivized to
Absolutely.
sell it, sometimes forced to sell it. The foot traffic at T-Mobile stores is significantly higher than Verizon. I mean, there's so many different reasons, man. It's not
be.
just the fact. I mean, there's so many different things that I can say there. I don't think that people are compared to the people that are walking into a store that are being pitched on the product. I don't think that people are Googling, oh, what's my alternative options? And they see a commercial. They most likely will see a commercial of Verizon Home Internet nowadays than T-Mobile Home Internet. The Super Bowl is going to have significant amounts of FWA from Verizon. The latest wildcard games have had a significant amount of FWA from Verizon.
I have seen T-Mobile advertisements as well, Moose.
No, it is true. It is true, but it's been an established business, and if you haven't tested it out by now, or you're not going to test it out, as it's very unlikely you're going to test it out. More than likely, you're going to test out. If you're going to Google, do I have fiber? You're more likely to Google if you have fiber in my home, right? But again, it goes back to, guys, if you don't care and you just need a basic internet connection, you go with T-Mobile FWA. But if you need a significantly more sophisticated option, and Verizon is an option, right? Verizon FWA, you go with Verizon FWA. Very soon, we're going to be seeing an expansion of Internet Air from AT&T, where every majority of the DSL, right, 50 and under, is going to be activated. That's going to be interesting to see. What's going to happen then? And is it off the speculation train that maybe AT&T might follow Verizon and do a QCI 8 option for $20 more? You know, you never know. There's so many damn possibilities with FWA, but it's a DSL option at the end of the day. You can't guarantee. That's the other thing that a lot of people forget. There's no guarantees on FWA, and there never will be. Because what happens if that cell site is down and the other one that is up is taking on significantly more load? So you are going to be connected, but it's going to be so slow.
I think the only level of guarantee you can get is with millimeter wave.
I'd like to quickly jump in because there's been a lot of good points being mentioned. First, though, before I get into my points, I just want to say that I called this the moment we talked about fixed wireless for the very first time. We had discussions about how, T-Mobile, a lot of people believe T-Mobile was going to be different than other telco companies. And we said the same thing about Verizon with their fixed wireless products. I called it the moment they had the opportunity to increase prices, they would do the same actions that every other telco provider does today. And T-Mobile, we saw this creep up earlier when T-Mobile started offering the data bucket plans in the areas where they didn't have the mid-split upgrades. And now we're seeing it now on their unlimited product.
They did wait for cable to go up first before they did it.
They did, but now that they've done this change to the price lock guarantee, it won't surprise me if the next thing we see is aggressive promotions whenever they're seeing uptick slow, aggressive promotions that have the quote unquote explosive pricing that we hated. And the reason why is because despite what everyone on this panel and everyone in the community and thinks, that's what ends up driving sales with consumers.
But Dennis, that ain't explosive though, that rate.
Well, we don't know what the aggressive price point is. Maybe it's fixed wireless is free for 12 months when you sign up for Magenta MAX, and then it goes up to $60. I mean, that's a pretty big. That's a big increase. Or maybe it's $25 again. And
explosive pricing is like, when I think of that, I think of what cable does when they go from the 50 or 60 promotional rate to 120. Yeah, to me, that's explosive.
Well, that's doubling the cost, right? But in my example, if you were at 25 and got bumped up to 60, you've doubled the cost. It's just we're talking about slightly different numbers. And that's 60 today, right? I guarantee you.
So you're saying that there will come a point where if you have the converged bundle where you have both services, you think they'll go up to 60?
100%.
Okay. All right.
100%. If they get the justification to do it, they will do that. But leading on to the actual points now that the panel talked about. So, Sneed, you were talking about the home internet experience, and Moose, you talked about how T-Mobile home internet's like a hotspot. You're both correct. T-Mobile, at least at a network level, currently today cannot offer a true home internet experience. Like, we're gonna have to wait until they figure out their standalone core situation, because the way their fixed wireless solution is currently set up is all their IP addresses are IPv6 addresses, so they have to do carrier grade NAT to generate IPv4, since that's still what a lot of websites and various things utilize. And then you got the router that's doing the localized NAT, which is causing a double NAT type issue, plus the lack of the settings. Sneed, there is an external antenna now that's offered. T-Mobile took that feedback. Their new modems actually have the antenna ports externally available to customers, and they sell an antenna product that you can buy.
They sell it, or do they give it?
No, they sell it. You have to buy it separately. Yeah, you have to buy it separately. As far as the talks about the fixed wireless products that are on the market, I agree with what everyone said, with Verizon being at the top, clearly and undisputed, because of the fact that they have priority data and because of the fact that they allow for port forwarding and some other aspects. I actually don't know if AT&T is necessarily better than T-Mobile, because to my understanding, it's still bottom of the barrel on the network as well. But I know the gateway is better. So
yeah, but QCI, so the one thing that I will give AT&T some props, their QCI system is the best in the industry.
Agreed.
Like just their setup, the way they have it and the way that it works, it seems to be the best. Verizon has done a nice job because they've basically given 5G home internet QCI 7 type access. So they're nailing that respect. T-Mobile's 5G home internet has lower priority than a free line on T-Mobile.
Oh, yeah.
It has lower priority than the hotspot data on a free line on T-Mobile. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, we are literally talking about the residue of the network. If let's say there's some type of a shindig going on at the local park. You're done on T-Mobile Home Internet. Like if 100 extra devices connect to that sector, you're through.
Sure. Two more quick points. I agree on the need for speed tiers, and I've talked about the need for that when you're talking about a home internet product. And EM, I agree with you that in order for the fixed wireless providers to be able to do that, they would have to densify to a point where there is redundant overlapping coverage, so you don't run into a situation where if the cell site goes down, you're connecting to 1-2 miles away. And then the last thing I was just going to quickly touch on was that oh shucks, I forgot what my last point was. Oh well. But yeah, I agree with most of the things that people are saying on the panel, and that's my points.
Good stuff,
So
guys.
I want to
Go ahead, Lou.
pose a question. So we've been talking about, for years now, the evolution from the 4G to the 5G era, and one of the big things that everyone talks about is network slicing. Why should a carrier care? Like, why should they emphasize a higher QCI on a fixed wireless plan that someone would potentially pay more for when they're just going to implement network slicing anyways? You see what I'm saying? Like, you cut off a slice for your FWA subscribers, it's dedicated, and that's your QCI. That replaces that QCI. So like offering a lower QCI for a plan that you might pay a premium for doesn't really it's gonna be, what's the word I'm looking for? Outdated.
Well, so here's my perspective on that. I think customers should be able to pay for a slice, not for a QCI. I don't think it has to be like, oh, well, you're on 5G home, so you're going to be on this slice. Well, that's a network management tool for the carrier. But if I'm a customer who wants a slice, enterprise business, that to me sounds much more exclusive. And if I'm getting a slice, I don't just want a throughput slice. I want a latency slice. I need more. I'm not going to pay double or triple the cost of a consumer line or consumer data access, that and to be on the same slice or to have the same slicing rules. I need a degree of separation. You know what I'm saying, Am?
No, I got you. That you make a good point there.
Yeah, the
And
latency is a big. I
go
was
ahead,
just
go ahead, Dennis.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna quickly say the latency is a big one, but on top of that, when you're talking about these slices, and there should be additional features available to the business or enterprise customer, right? Like maybe you don't allow consumers to access port 40, so because you don't want them running servers or email hosting, but that should definitely be an option that's available to pay for on a business line. In the same way that when we talk about traditional telco, the rules are different. You know, I don't know if Verizon does this, but I know in the case of Comcast in certain circumstances, they'll literally have separate nodes and separate taps and really urban environments where the business users are literally getting their own dedicated capacity, uh, just because of the fact that there are like legitimate SLAs with
Mhm.
that product and solution.
You're
'Cause, like,
talking about
here's what
like
I envision happening.
Metro Ethernet service. Yeah.
Here's what I envision happening. I envision a situation where someone wants, like, a private network type access, and you got one device and it's pulling off uplink. If you got 300 down and 20 up as your quote unquote throughput availability, I get 10 devices on that network. Somebody's going to be buffering. Somebody's going to have a messed up video call, especially if half of those devices are connecting for uplink. Especially if I've got like security cameras that are uploading constantly, at a 4K video resolution or even a 1080p, whatever it is, right? So I'm going to need something else. That's where I think those types of uh, strategies, tools, solutions kind of come into play. You guys want to transition over to the Samsung Galaxy?
Yeah.
Sure.
Here it is, people. The Samsung Galaxy S24. Shout out to Green. Appreciate you for the super chat. I know you were asking about the phone. Let's look at all the phones and let's look at the previous generation device and see where they stack up. All right, so let's start first with displays. From what I could tell, The S24, the base model, is full HD, 1080p. The other two, the Plus and the Ultra, will get you the quad HD resolution. So there definitely is going to be a large display if you go with the two, the Plus and the Ultra. The S24 will get you a 6.2 inch. The other two are 6.7 and 6.8, and they have higher resolution. With respect to the camera systems, the S24 and then the Plus have the same camera systems. The Ultra is where the camera system shines. A 200 megapixel wide camera, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 10 megapixel 3x telephoto, and then a 50 megapixel 5x telephoto. Holy hell. That is going to be the industry's best camera system for sure. The Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra is crazy. It's basically a beefed up version of last year's Ultra, so it'll probably have some cool AI features, some things that it could do in processing. It'll be awesome, and it definitely is going to be a step above the Plus and the regular S24. The front-facing camera is the same on all models. You're getting the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 modem or processor, and the modem in there is going to be what, the X75 EM? Is that right?
I believe so. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't get to watch the keynote, so I don't know
Okay.
anything about these phones.
All right, let me ask Josh in the live chat. I think he would know if, unless someone on the panel knows. We got 8 gig of RAM on the entry level, 12 gig of RAM for the Plus and the Ultra, 2 storage options for the regular one, 128 gig and 256. Right now, I think you could basically get a free storage upgrade if you pre-order. The plus size phone has a 256 and a 512 gig storage options. And then the Ultra has a 256, a 512, and the 1 terabyte. No expanded storage. That's been gone for years. Batteries, 4,000 milliamp hour for the S24, 4,900 for the Plus, 5,000 for the Ultra. You guys starting to get the things. The Ultra is the GOAT. Looking at the displays, 2,600 nit screens. I do see millimeter wave support on all models, IP68 dust and water resistance, power share. All right, here's an important thing to note. 25 watt charging on the regular S24, 45 watt on the Plus and the Ultra, Wi-Fi 6E on the regular and the Plus, Wi-Fi 7 for the Ultra. Okay, so there's a difference there. Let's see here. Pricing. The regular S24 with 128 gig of storage, $800. The Plus, $900. Does come with the 256 storage option. And then $1,300 for the 256 gig version of the Ultra. All right, now we probably want to look at the cellular bands. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's the part that I would say most people are coming for this.
Okay. All right, let's peep out the cellular support. All right, first of all, you got dual SIM. They have SIM 1, SIM 2. That looks like physical SIM. SIM 1 and eSIM if you want to run dual SIM. The 4G bands look like everything that you would need. I don't see anything missing except, actually, nope, there it is. The band 41 from T-Mobile on LTE is still there. All right, so that's still a thing. 5G bands, N2, N5, N25, N26. Who uses N28?
It's like
No one.
Australia.
What? Because I know N29 but whatever. All right.
N28 is just FDD 700 megahertz. It's just a expanded
Okay.
band.
I see N66 for the TDD side. I see N41. I see N77. They did confirm that millimeter wave is there. DoD will be covered. C-band is covered. The millimeter wave is covered. It's going to have all the cellular bands. I think all of Dish is going to be covered as well. In fact, Dish is running a promotion. They're running the Galaxy on Us, so you guys can pre-order that through Dish as well. I think that's it. I think we covered everything. All right, so what do you guys think of what do you guys think of the phone? What do you think of the pricing? What do you think of the specs? You guys want to take a look at the devices here, some of the colors of the S24. You got titanium yellow on the right. You got titanium violet, titanium black, titanium gray.
I think the phones are fine. Like the improvements, so you touched on AI and the software piece. That to me has been the actual biggest improvement with this generation. The fact that Samsung's promising, I think it's 7 years of feature updates. So now they're
I
in
ain't
line.
keeping a phone for 7 years, Dennis.
I know, but I'm saying I think the fact that they're promising that level of support brings them in line with Google, which is huge. And then the AI improvements to like the actual photography app is really cool. You can do some cool stuff. Um, as far as Wi-Fi 7 support goes, I feel blasphemous for saying this, but I don't necessarily really care because Wi-Fi 6E was so new, and there's not really any Wi-Fi 7 hardware on the market to really take advantage of
Future
what's.
proofing, I guess, right?
Yeah, but like you just said, we're going to upgrade
Right.
yearly, so that's not like a big thing. The thing that I'm most curious about, because everything about the phone seems pretty, like there's nothing wrong with the phone. It's just there's not like a really big thing. So the thing I'm most curious about is what the modem improvements are going to look like. That's the aspect that I'm curious. Like, what does that translate to? Do I get better edge cell performance? Like, I don't know if you remember when the S22 first came out, but that phone was legendary for edge cell connectivity. So I wonder what the new modems will bring to the table as far as our cellular connectivity is concerned, especially in the case of AT&T and T-Mobile, since they're the ones that are probably going to make most use of the extra layer of mid-band carrier aggregation.
B, let me get you in here. B, I got an S22. Should I upgrade? And then also to B, you got an S23. Are you going to upgrade?
Should you upgrade? Yeah, sure. I mean, this phone seems to be substantially better than what you get from the S22 from an experience standpoint. Excuse me. There's also seeming to be some pretty good promotions with respect to, the memory upgrade, and looks like the carriers are probably going to be doing some good stuff as far as incentivizing people to purchase. So it may be a good time, Sneed. As far as whether I'm going to upgrade, the answer is probably no. I'm happy with my my S23 Ultra. So I'm probably going to wait probably until 2025 until I do something. If not 2026, this phone is lasting. It's doing really well. So I'm happy with what I have at this time. But I mean, yeah, just looking at some of the promotions and some of the specs and everything, um, I definitely thought about it for a few minutes. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with what I have at this time.
Yeah, so you don't feel compelled like you got to run out and pre-order one and
No, I mean, these phones, Samsung makes a good product. This phone's been solid. I have no doubt in my mind that the S24 is going to be really good as well. It's going to keep people happy. There's not much to complain about with the Samsung products these days, in my opinion. For the normal casual user, this phone's great. So it's got the latest. It's got all of the various features that you're looking for. You know, it doesn't leave any stone unturned, in my opinion. It's a really good phone. So I'm sure the S24 Ultra will be great, but I'm going to pass on it for now.
Moose. I got the S22. Should I upgrade to this phone? And for the folks out there with S23s, should they upgrade to this phone? All right, looks like we lost Moose. Let's get EM on this. EM, I know you're a big fan of these devices. Where are you at? S22, should I upgrade? And I think you have an S23 Ultra, don't you?
I have a 22 Ultra.
Ooh, okay. You gonna upgrade?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I know you
And I'll,
got a flipper, a fold.
yeah, I got a Fold 5 and the S22 Ultra, but my plan was to replace the 22 simply because this phone is going to be BYOD supported on Dish, which is something that I've been looking for.
Right, yeah.
And then the 5 carrier uh aggregation over NR is huge for me.
There's only one carrier who's really gonna push 5G NR, 5 carrier aggregation. That's gonna be T-Mobile, right?
I think
Because
AT&T will as well.
yeah, it's possible.
Eventually.
Right. That's kinda down the line, but, like, T-Mobile's forcing the issue. N71, N25, N41, those are their base 5G bands, but DoD's on deck. C-band is on deck, right?
Yeah,
So there's your
T-Mobile's gonna.
N77 piece, and that's gonna be 2 carriers? Isn't that right?
I was gonna say, yeah, T-Mobile already ran out when you were talking because N41 will be 2 carriers right
2
there.
channels, that's right,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then N25 is 1, N71 is 1, so that's 4, and then your 5th one is gonna be regular C-band. Like, that's gonna be your cap because you can't do DoD now, or it'll be one or the other, is what I'm saying.
It also
So-
supports a bunch of additional uplink features that'll help, potentially address some of the uplink issues T-Mobile has with their spectrum. So that's another thing to consider.
I want to know more about this dual SIM, dual standby functionality because didn't the S23 Ultra also have DSDA, if I'm not mistaken?
But this is Gen 2, so dual data simultaneously, not just dual SIM, right?
Yeah, that's what
Dual
I'm
data.
referring to.
Right, so it was like a neutered experience. You couldn't actually use both data streams.
Right. So that's what I was going to actually touch on. What needs to happen? Because, like, I'm imagining a world where both my data sims are active. Now I know that will crush my battery, but I'm imagining a world. But I'm imagining a world where I'm able to literally have like an aggregate connection of like, say, like AT&T and T-Mobile to achieve like.
Oh,
Do
bonding?
Yeah, do you remember? Do you remember when back in the day, like I'm talking like Galaxy S4 days, Samsung had a feature called like Wi-Fi Booster where you could combine your cellular connection with your Wi-Fi to get faster downloads off of like apps from the App Store and stuff like that. Do you remember that? That was like a thing.
Yeah.
It was a thing Samsung had, and that's what I would like to see from a dual SIM, dual data setup, being able to bond like my T-Mobile and my AT&T at the same time. So like if I go to a situation where maybe the signal gets really weak for T-Mobile, I still got that AT&T uplink or vice versa to always have a tremendous connection.
That's how the iPhones do it. Is if your
Well,
primary data isn't working or it's not
It
functioning
allows,
correctly.
like, switching, right?
Yep.
you're talking about switching, but not bonding. I'm talking about bonding.
I don't think you're gonna see that on a phone anytime soon. I'm gonna be honest. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
I
hate to
don't
burst your bubble.
yeah, I'm kinda with EM on that. Well, I think it's awesome if we were to get that soon, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
One thing I'm
who's demanding it too? Like, what percentage of users are lining up and be like, "Hey, Qualcomm, we kinda need this. Where you at?"
In the US, I don't think a lot of users are demanding it, but I can tell you right now in markets like China and India, that would be a very popular requested feature
Well, think
because
about that, Dennis. What does it take to bond? Think about the level that you have to do at home for a home solution. Now you wanna try to get that into that small smartphone form factor, right? Like,
from
that's
a
tough, man.
hardware requirement, it's not that complicated. It's really just a matter of the software aspect of handling the data traffic on a
I
cell
would bet you a phone would heat up so fast running like that for more than 5 or 10 minutes.
Sure, but you could. That's why I said there the software aspect. You could set rules like only large files kick off that functionality, right? Like in the case of back in the day of the S4 era, Samsung had it where if you did the Wi-Fi plus cellular to boost your download connections, it only applied for files larger than like 50 meg at the time. So
Bro,
like
you are going to need some kind of proprietary solution
I don't
from
know, but
it's gonna need some solutions.
circling back in on the modem for a second, and this is just open ended to anyone on the panel. Um, what like I know obviously the extra layer of carrier aggregation will be huge, and we agree that it'll be for T-Mobile in the early like set.
Dish.
Does Dish use 4-way carrier ag? I thought they were only doing 2 right now.
Dish would be able to separate their AWS holdings, right? Because they have AWS H, AWS 4, AWS 3. And then they have they
AWS
do have
one.
they have what?
AWS one, the downlink only stuff.
Mhm. And then they have N29 in some places. Obviously, they got N71. They got N26 coming once they pay for that spectrum to T-Mobile. I mean, they got stuff they got to do, and their network standalone, so their devices, like, they don't have options. They need devices with 5G CA.
I was gonna say, Josh just put it in the chat. Right now, if I remember correctly, the 3 carrier reg they're running is N71, N70, and N66. And then it's
But
just 3
there's
separate
more.
chips.
But they have
And there's
more.
more. There's more.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I haven't seen any N66 from Dish. It's always just been N71 or N70 or
What?
Bro,
You're that far from the sites?
I guess I don't know. I got the Moto 2023. Yeah, 2023. That was the phone I got with Project Genesis. So
I mean, when I'm outdoors, I'm usually connecting to N71 and N66.
PA-Tex at N66 isn't a primary band, so it never shows in any apps. It's downlink only. Oh, okay. Well, that would probably explain why I never saw it. If it doesn't show in the apps, then that would
No,
explain.
you'll see it in the Samsung menu.
Well,
right
no,
in the
I'm on a Moto. I'm on a Moto.
Oh, got you. Yeah, facts. Yep.
Yeah. So that would explain why I've never seen N66, because apparently it doesn't display in the apps. Okay.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I'm concerned about with this phone or with this modem is the bullet point, second one down on the left, converged millimeter wave sub-6 transceiver. With every other modem chipset that we've had, it's been separate hardware.
You
So I
concerned
wonder
about heat efficiency? What's your concern?
performance for millimeter wave and efficiency when it comes to thermals. Because
Got you.
if you remember the S21s had a, I don't know if it was if it was mounted to the SoC and not
It
on
was
the side
integrated.
rail. It was
Wasn't it
integrated.
integrated? Yeah.
And those phones had really bad thermal problems.
Thermals. Yeah. Yeah, good call.
Well,
So
efficiency.
go ahead.
I was gonna say the efficiency should be better, because by converging, you're shrinking the overall size of the chiplet, right? You're not gonna have 2 separate dedicated chips generating heat, and you're bringing things closer. So, like, the efficiency should improve. Now, the performance, that's a different aspect. I agree, acknowledge that the performance may be worse.
Although
I wonder
if
what
this
made them go that
means,
direction.
yeah, so the only thing that I guess we'd have to see is if the sub-6 antennas are going to be integrated into that external type setup that the millimeter wave is, because that might actually improve your mid-band performance if you have a wider antenna area on the phone. I don't know, but that's
What
got me
does this
concerned.
do for that whole concept of aggregation between millimeter wave and C-band, right? Like, do you think this is gonna be an opportunity for this device to shine? Once Verizon kinda gets that connection going, or AT&T, do you think there's something to be said about that connection?
There could be. We really gotta see,
You have to just test it.
yeah, what carrier ag
When
combos
is
this
Verizon
phone's
gonna
gonna
do that?
support.
When's AT&T gonna do it? When are we gonna see millimeter wave and C-band getting jiggy, and working together?
I don't think there's a reason to do it anytime soon. I mean, you got 8 in the case of Verizon, you have 8 channels, 100 megahertz wide.
Yeah, and then this phone's gonna do 10 channel for millimeter wave.
Yeah.
But my point is like, sometimes I'm at a node, within the vicinity of a node, and my phone is trying to decide, especially the iPhone. My phone is trying to decide, do I want to connect to millimeter wave or C-band? For several months, it was defaulting me to C-band. I don't want C-band if I got millimeter wave there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, why can't I get the best of both worlds? So as soon as Verizon configures that and puts that on the core, and it's coded and
Okay. I see the reason.
programmed, that's what I want to see.
I see the reason why you're saying you want it. I was gonna say you have infinite capacity millimeter wave. Why does it matter? But now I see the reason.
And then the claims that we've heard from people saying lower frequencies are supposed to boost millimeter wave connections and all this other stuff. I need to see that happen, or else people continue to say it. They're selling wolf tickets. People keep talking about how low band's going to boost mid band and mid band's going to boost millimeter wave. I don't know what the hell they're talking about, because I haven't seen it. So they're speculating.
Well, the range, in theory, the range should improve. In theory,
But why though?
because
They're
When
standalone
you're
connections. So why?
because when you're it's like how if we were having a conversation, okay, Sneed, like you're the cell site, I'm the phone, okay? You as the cell site, you're able to output at a much higher power to like find like for my device to find you that you exist and to hear what you're saying. But in order for the connection to establish, I need to be able to talk back to you. But I'm a weak little phone, you know. I'm and it's noisy. There's other stuff that's happening in the air. That low band frequency is going to be the thing that I'm going to be able to more easily attach to get your attention, so to speak. And then from there, you can do things like beamforming and other technologies to optimize the mid-band frequency so that I have a better chance of connecting to those connections as well once we establish where I'm at, like location-wise.
Well,
I used a
Sneed,
bad analogy, but
I think what you're referring to is that right now millimeter wave can be kind of finicky when it relies on an LTE connection as the primary component carrier. Because if that LTE connection is saturated, your millimeter wave performance is going to be garbage. So if
It
you have
always is. It always is. You'll get like 1 gig down when you should be getting 4.
exactly. So if you can utilize a high capacity channel like C-band or even a dedicated NR channel that's not what devices are going to camp out on, like for example band 13 or band 12, you will run into less of those performance degradation type of situations when you have a cleaner low band, quote unquote low band signal to latch onto as your primary carrier.
I don't know if I've shared this with you lately, but my home site for Verizon, peak, I'm getting like 60 megabits per second uplink. Peak from a mile away indoors.
It's about what I
It,
get. My site's 2 miles away.
it's crazy.
Crazy.
So I'm really excited about this phone and other things like I mean, we're talking about the iPhone. Dog, the iPhone is not the gold standard for RF.
Definitely not. They've lost that crown to Samsung.
Right. So I'm excited about this phone. And I'm excited to put a Dish SIM in there. And I'm excited to get a Verizon SIM in there. Like I'm gonna eSIM all things, and
the iPhone though, in my personal testing and experience, the iPhone tends to have better upload than the
I
Samsung for each
hard
generation.
disagree. Hard disagree. The S series phones performance on Edge Cell is like unmatched.
I'm just talking about uplink in general. So, like for example, if I run a speed test right now with my S23 Ultra and my iPhone 15 Pro Max, my iPhone can get 110 on the upload at my house. The Samsung generally caps out right around 80 to 100. I know it's only a small difference, but that's just something I've noticed.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is in like tougher RF situations. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're in deep inside a building. You're connected to a macro outside. That Samsung phone is going to perform significantly better in regards to uplink when the RF conditions are poor. That's what I've noticed, and I'm sure a lot of people can attest to that.
I think both can be true though, right? Like if we're talking about like good RF conditions and we're talking about peak performance, we can acknowledge that the iPhone tends to get slightly better upload, just like the Pixel seems to do pretty good on that as well. But if we're
the
talking,
Pixel's a rocky experience though. You'll get a security update or a monthly update and it'll ruin everything.
no,
And then
that's
All
true.
you
right,
gotta
so a
wait
couple
like
things here.
go ahead,
I want to
Moose.
say a couple things. First, Wi-Fi 7 device in the market, the Ultra. Everything else pretty much the same, right? Bluetooth 6.0, amazing. X75 modem, confirmed. And that's pretty much it. I mean, 5
So
carrier
Moose
aggregation.
S20 so Moose S22s. Are they
Okay.
upgrading to this phone? Is that a good upgrade?
My uncle's already upgrading, yeah.
All right, S23, are they upgrading to this?
Depends if they're tech enthusiasts, yes.
So that one's more like preference, but an S22 is a
Preference.
worthy upgrade.
Yes, S22 is a worthy upgrade. If you're in an S21, 100% upgrade. And by the way, take advantage, ladies and gentlemen, of any year, any condition offers. Please
Oh yeah, the
take
trade-ins and stuff.
advantage. And by
Right.
the way, if you were to pre-order before the end of the month, you do get a memory upgrade. That is a standard Samsung bonus because they're trying to entice you to buy Samsung.
By the
Keep in
way,
mind. Yeah.
shout out to Apple, who just surpassed Samsung for selling the most phones worldwide. Apple finally took the crown away from Samsung.
Wow.
Really?
But again,
Yeah, and they were
guys,
banned in China, bro. This shit's crazy.
guys, the Samsung, to me, no joke, I am still not impressed with them. Like, as a phone OEM, I don't know what will it take for me to be impressed by Samsung.
Bro, Moose, I've been using an iPhone as my daily driver for the last month or two.
Yeah.
I have no clue what the hell people like about these phones.
Sneed, it's the blue bubble. The fact that I can see that you read my
I guess it's like the messaging is cool, bro, but I still don't get
It's
it.
the simplicity, Chacha. That's the thing that a lot of
I never had simplicity issues on any other phones.
95% of the consumer base does not care about customization. They just want the phone to work. And
I don't care either.
Very recently, if the phone does have a problem, they want to have a store that they can physically go to get it replaced.
That I get.
There's no Samsung stores. There's only the kiosks and Best Buy.
Yeah.
There's another aspect too. Well, there's a couple aspects, but one of them as well is that apps tend to work better on iPhone. Like things like
my iPhone is a buggy piece of shit, bro.
Let me be specific. Let me be specific with what I mean. Things like Snapchat, TikTok, those apps run better on iPhone, and those are the things that everyone that's younger, are using.
So Dennis, you tell me you don't have a TikTok where you twerk, bro? That doesn't happen?
I have a TikTok, but there's not a single video uploaded on it. I just use it for consumption. But
you consume the twerking, you don't do the twerking.
But I want to circle back here and no more serious discussion. Moose, you said you're not impressed with Samsung as an OEM. Is there a specific thing about Samsung that just turns you off? Because to me, me personally, okay, I think Samsung has had issues. I remember how they really screwed people on the S8 when they marketed UFS 3.0 storage at the time, but then they later did a revision for US models after the fact when they sold it, and it wasn't the case unless you bought the plus version, unless you bought a certain storage size. And I know that from an OEM standpoint, at least based off internal sources, I know that Samsung can sometimes be a bit of a pain in the rear to work with when it comes to getting certain certifications met. But I still think that they're better to work with than someone like Apple, who literally forces you to sell 100,000 iPhones to get a carrier bundle with Apple.
I'll tell you this: Apple is the only company that will force carriers to pivot drastically to a new standard that they want to do, because more than 70% of market share of all carriers is Apple. So, for example, more than 50% of the user base of Verizon has an iPhone. More than 80% of the user base of AT&T has an iPhone. More than 60% of the user base of T-Mobile has an iPhone. Samsung is so irrelevant in the United States. I'll tell you another thing too. I think of Samsung as General Electric. They're a conglomerate. They have so many different business divisions. And guess what? LG was the same thing. And guess what? They literally removed their smartphone business to focus on LG Display. LG Display is the best.
LG Display made money and the LG phones.
Exactly. So does Samsung Display, but not as good. But why the hell are they focusing so much on their Samsung washing machine, Samsung dryer, Samsung refrigerator, Samsung everything?
By the way, most of them are trash, by the way.
And by the way, again, and I keep saying by the way, but Samsung is a conglomerate. Do they make a lot of stuff? Yes. Do I think that most of their stuff is rinse and repeat? Yes. These are facts, right? What's really the difference between an S22 and S23? There was no difference really, right? But you could say the same for an iPhone. But an iPhone is selling like hotcakes still, even with this tough environment. And oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're less than 15 days away from the Vision Pro that
Oh,
should.
come on, Moose. Oh, come on. You're gonna come here with that Vision Pro crap, bro.
We
Nobody
are going
can.
to reiterate what people said about the iPad, what people said about the Apple Watch. But guess what? These are staples now in most people's lives.
The Vision Pro?
Bro.
Listen, Moose, I need to say something. So Sneed, you know I was a Samsung man for a long time. That was my primary phone. And you remember the reason I told everyone that I switched was because I wanted to go down to one phone. Dual SIM was huge. That's the reason I made the transition back to iPhone. I still have both phones though. I love my iPhone because it made my life simpler with Blue Bubble. I know that sounds crazy, but no, seriously. Blue Bubble made my life simpler when having to talk to people. It really did. Like group chats no longer.
Bro, I get it. Like now I'm a part of shit. I understand, bro.
And all that stuff. But I just want to say Samsung makes great phones that work better with a lot of other stuff. Like the Windows pairing that's on Samsung is so nice. I love that feature. And for anyone that doesn't know, Samsung literally has a thing where you can pair it up with your Windows 11 PC and you can open up apps like the photo app straight on your PC, or you can just message straight from your PC with like the comfort of your keyboard. And thanks to Google with RCS, you can download like the RCS messaging app too and open it from any browser, which is basically what Digits did for T-Mobile. So like these are features that are awesome. I wish Apple would play nicer with Windows. They don't. That being said, if I had to pick one phone and only one phone, and even though it might not have the best RF, I would pick an iPhone every day of the week because it's going to be impossible for me to leave the walled garden at this point. And honestly, like Apple has Android and iOS have gotten so similar at this point. Like any like key features, like they're not really missing anymore. Like everything works good enough on iPhone. There's little gripes that I have, like the fact that you can't move apps around on the grid, that they don't give you that control. And you know, I sometimes miss fingerprint readers because sometimes Face ID. I mean, Face ID works pretty well, but like, you know, I prefer the fingerprint reader personally. So there's certain things that I miss, but like honestly, like it makes sense why iPhones are, you know, so dominant because they're the ones that, as Moose touched on, are the only ones in the industry that can change standards. Like if Apple does it, just accept the fact that it's going to happen to everyone else the next generation. It's just Apple does it first.
You guys notice that Samsung's UI has just become more iPhone-like?
Yes.
It's just like the little things that I hated about I hate about iOS have just made their way into Samsung's UI, and I hate One UI, but now it's more like Apple. So I hate it's like less terrible, but it's still terrible because they're copying Apple.
Yes, and have
better than the Pixel UI, EM. Nothing better than the Pixel UI.
I actually disagree.
I won't argue with you there.
I have a Pixel 8. I disagree because the UI scaling on Pixel is messed up. If you have it like scaled in, it makes it so. No, seriously, if you have the default scaling setting that Pixel has out of the box, certain apps like Ookla Speed Test end up being like cropped in and you can't see everything. I showed it to EM. I think I made a comment to him when I got the Pixel 8. Like that is like fundamentally broken.
Whoa, hold up! I just read an article from 95 Google. Exynos returns to Galaxy S24 as Samsung ditches Snapdragon only after just 1 year.
Yes.
What?
Yes. Yeah.
Wait, what's the new? What was the story?
There's two
Chat.
variants.
Come
There's
on,
two
Dad.
variants of the S24.
Exynos is back.
For the S24?
Yeah,
Yes.
for the EU. Yeah.
In North America?
No, not North America. North America gets Snapdragon. It's
okay. I was gonna say, all right, let's not.
All regions except the United States on the S24 and S24 Plus are using the Exynos 2400.
And China's the exception, I think.
Bro, is it up to par?
Jesus Christ, this is so.
Are they trying to kill their user base?
Oh,
Exynos was always up. I don't remember. Exynos was always up to par.
But it's been years since they were. They used to be.
No, I mean it's always been. It's the way it's always been is the Exynos would outperform the Snapdragon from a CPU score benchmark, and the graphics would always be better on the Snapdragon side. And I think power consumption was like there was a slight variance in like the overall power consumption, but like it was so comparable. I mean,
Yeah,
it
but
was,
what about the modem system? There's so many patents and unique features,
but you
that
don't need those in the EU. You
right.
only
So, yeah, then it makes sense for them to explore the Exynos there, I
I mean,
suppose.
listen, the two variants, it's like how Apple has the TSMC made A15 or whatever chips versus the Samsung made ones. They're the same chip. Like, you know, it's very comparable.
Wait. So they went up by $100, the price point?
800. The
No.
S24 is $800.
The S24 Ultra is $100 more, right, than the previous Ultra?
I think so.
$12.99 for the new one, isn't it?
Yeah, $12.99.
I think it's more than it was $11.99, wasn't it, for the base last year?
Yeah,
Was
that's
it?
what I'm saying. Yeah, last year says it's a higher price point. It's now at $1,300. So to me, that means that it was $100 cheaper last year.
The trade-ins last year were trash too. Last year was, I think, it was. In years past, they were doing great trade-ins.
I got a good deal from Best Buy on my S23 Ultra because Best
Did
Buy
you
was
do it through the carrier though?
No, I did it unlocked through Best Buy. So Best Buy did $300 off the rip, and then they also did, I think it was like 800, or maybe it was like 600 or something like that for like trading on the phone.
So they're gonna give me Samsung. They're gonna give me $450 for my S22 for an unlocked S24. So I'm coming out of pocket like
Hold on.
$450.
Go to Swappa, buy an S8, S7, S6, whatever the hell you can get. Come to the dark side. And we'll give you $1,000.
Moose, I need an unlocked model to get all my eSIMs on there.
Cha.
And stay
That is
locked with
honestly
AT&T
the
for 3
worst.
years.
That is honestly the worst comment I've ever heard the Cha-Cha SMT say. Because you already know that the GOAT of eSIM profiles is Apple exclusively.
It's the truth. That's why I'm on an iPhone.
Samsung literally had no roadmap for eSIM when iPhone launched with it, man.
Yeah, but the S24 there's no indications that the eSIM doesn't work.
Sneed,
Listen,
I'm just going to tell you right now because it's a fact from internal sources. Still to this day, Samsung has issues with eSIM where like the device will be certified for eSIM with carrier T-Mobile, but the information and the communication between their systems might have an issue with Verizon. Or if Verizon fixes it, then it'll be an issue with Verizon wholesale from like a compatibility standpoint. It is all kinds of messed up. I promise you.
EM, what should I do, man?
I think you should get
Pixel.
an unlocked Samsung device because that's what I'm gonna do. Don't listen to Moose's nonsense. Don't trade in a phone to AT&T and trap yourself there for 3 years. If you want
Moose,
to do
by the
that,
time
go,
I get
go
out
through
of by the time I pay off that phone, Moose, I'm gonna be a granddad. Come on, bro.
Well, listen, when it comes to eSIM, if you want Android, you go Pixel. And Google Pixel does eSIM so much better. And then if you really want the best experience with like eSIM, especially like dual SIM, it's iPhone. And those are your two options for eSIM if eSIM is what's important to you.
but I think Sneed probably cares about network performance. And
Yeah.
Samsung's going to be the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. Back in 2016, finding out that all Samsung phones on T-Mobile ping a T-Mobile server in order to have their downloads provisioned, that's the indication that I will never allow a carrier to tell me when I can software update or not. So that's why Dennis is absolutely correct. If you have to get a Samsung, or if you want to get a Samsung, please get an unlocked version because that is directly from Samsung. You don't have to worry about the bloatware. You don't have to worry about the download server not having the update ready. That's the perfect path. But once again, causes more issues, right? Historically speaking, the unlocked versions of the Samsung phone had terrible compatibility issues. This is another reason why I feel like Samsung is so fixated on trying to make money and catch up to Apple, but they don't want to polish their devices. They need to address the egregious software issues. eSIM is not polished. eSIM doesn't even have a way to activate without a damn eSIM card. Like, how the heck is that even possible?
Well, that's an AT&T.
That's an AT&T thing.
That is not just an AT&T thing.
That is an archaic AT&T provisioning thing. It's not an issue with T-Mobile or Verizon because I've activated eSIMs on my S22 on T-Mobile and Verizon.
This is a Samsung issue. We've already discussed this in multiple videos, multiple times in the channel.
Then why is AT&T the only one that has this problem? Why is AT&T the only one that makes me go to a freaking store to get a little card with a QR code on it? Please tell me.
Samsung.
How come Moose is allowed to yell, but when I yell, everybody tell me calm down?
You know, it's because. But still, I was gonna get into it.
I just want to understand because he was yelling and nobody said anything. I'm looking at the comments. I'm looking at the comments. Nobody said anything in the comments. I said something, and all of a sudden, calm down, B.
B, have you seen a moose with its horns? Would you want to get in front of that?
No.
Go ahead, Moose. Sorry.
Go ahead, man.
I'm very passionate about this, man, because
I'm passionate.
This is stupid from an OEM that you are alienating your user base just because you don't want to polish your stuff. That's the problem.
You think that the carriers don't have something to play with that? Because the firmware is uniquely developed by each respective carrier. But why doesn't Samsung put their foot down and say, we're not going to bend the knee and put all this carrier bloatware junk on our devices?
It's obvious,
they have zero
man.
market share in the United States otherwise.
It's so obvious.
Well, I mean, in my experience with the S23 Ultra, I didn't see a lot of bloatware on it, other than the traditional Verizon stuff. And then you got your My Verizon application, all that kind of thing. Other than that, I don't really see bloatware as a huge issue.
Okay, I'm gonna say something.
Candy Crush download for like 20 times, and you had to delete it, or like
randomly pushes apps to your phone without your consent.
Yeah, that's a Samsung thing for sure. And
I mean, you just delete it and it's done. I mean,
no, but it'll re-download it. It'll re-download it. That's the thing that's annoying. It'll re-download it.
Okay.
Are you still here? Because I'm about to drop a bomb right now. I'm about to drop a bomb. Chacha Sneed, you still there? I might have left.
Yes, sir. Still here.
Okay. Back when T-Mobile Tuesdays launched, the original idea of T-Mobile Tuesdays was to aggregate massive metadata. So, why did they want to aggregate all this massive metadata? To see what people's buying trends were or coupon trends were? Because they wanted to become this aggregator of data. Okay? They wanted to be able to sell to those advertisers because T-Mobile Tuesdays is an advertising platform. It was clear as day. Why do you think it's so obvious that you have more ads from an Android phone? Maybe because there's T-Mobile Tuesdays automatically installed that has provisions, has all this permission on your phone to see what you're doing. Do you think that that's the same thing that Facebook was doing back once upon a time? It's pretty obvious to me that the reason why they have this control over your phone is because they want to know about what you're doing with your phone, your data. Okay? It's not changed today either, by the way. T-Mobile Tuesday still does the same thing. So the reason why it will never change is because this thing is too lucrative of a deal. We have developers that literally pay whatever it costs to be included in that bloatware, quote unquote. Okay? Candy Crush, Facebook, whatever it is. Max, HBO Max was a, thing there for a long time, right? So, and Amazon was there too. So that will never change. And that's why I always advocate for an unlocked device, is because I don't have that issue. I can choose what to install on my device or not. But in carrier versions of that same device, you will always have this aggregation of data because they already have sold the real estate for it. That's why the carriers are so how do you say this? Um, have built a perimeter. They built a wall, right? So that you can only download the software updates from their servers, is because they want to have control over that device.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if I'm a carrier, I would want a very big say in deployment of software updates. I mean, you're interfacing with the network that's proprietary to a specific carrier or to whatever carrier you choose to be on if you're doing the whole eSIM thing. So, I mean, if I'm a carrier, I would want to have a say in when those things deploy and, what the capabilities are. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest, guys, if anything happens with the software, customers aren't going to call Samsung. They're going to call their carrier first. So yeah, if I'm a carrier, I would absolutely want to have some say over when that stuff deploys. I don't think that's a bad thing. And I also would point to the fact that these carriers heavily subsidize the cost of these phones, and that's what's keeping some of these MNOs afloat. AT&T, T-Mobile, they're the ones that do the really, really heavy subsidizing, and it's keeping them afloat from a growth standpoint. I mean, AT&T wouldn't be growing at all if they weren't giving away phones for the last 2 years. They don't have anything else. I mean, they don't have. They're not doing perks or anything. They're just giving network access and giving away free phones. So, I mean, it has helped these businesses, and consumers have taken to them because you can't get a better deal than if you were to go with a carrier. So, guys, I mean, how much is this really impacting the consumer? Is the consumer racing to Samsung to go purchase a phone? Well, if you look at the quarterly earnings of these companies, who's doing all the growing? Anytime we talk about growth, well, Verizon's not growing, so I guess we got to throw them out. So the two carriers that are growing, how many phones are they selling? So based on that, where are the customers going? Where the best deals are, right? So I guess the bloatware be damned, because they're going right to those two carriers and getting all the growth, and that's what everybody's throwing on the wall, and that's what's sticking. Every time we have a podcast, we talk about how much AT&T is growing and how much T-Mobile is growing.
But they are, B.
Yeah, I mean, I just said they are, so I agree. So since we know that, despite everything that's being said right now, it doesn't seem like the customers really care about bloatware and about the ability to do all these things you guys are talking about, because they're going where the best deals are. So you got better deals, and bloatware doesn't seem to be a huge deal breaker for the consumer.
Well, no, I think they were just speaking to their preference.
Oh, your personal preferences? I mean, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think that's what they were. I think most folks, they just look at the apps and they're just like, whatever,
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you used to not be able to delete them. Now you can delete them. I mean, for me, it doesn't really seem to be that big of a deal. You're getting $1,000 off these phones.
Doesn't Android like sleep those apps when you don't use them?
Yeah, you can sleep them. You can delete them. I mean, arguing semantics right now. People would much rather take $1,000 off the cost of the phone, and they're clearly doing that.
The way I see it, it's like your ISP that forces you to use their hardware, AT&T. Because then when it comes to the troubleshooting side of things, when the ISP, or in this case the network provider, has more access and more control over the connectivity and the way that device is going to communicate with the wider network, it's much easier to troubleshoot customer issues. It's much easier to address things that may be going wrong. No Radio and I have talked about it too with cable ISPs, and how if you don't use their provided equipment, they will not troubleshoot for you.
Yeah, they don't want to help you. They'll just say, "Hey, you need to get our equipment."
So the firmware, the bloatware, I can kind of see where B's coming from, but I tend to lean towards where Moose is coming from, though. The privacy standpoint, like all of these integrated app platforms that are just grabbing metadata from customers is kind of icky. But
I mean, customers aren't opposed to that either. I mean, they're going to Facebook and Google in droves and gladly giving away their data in exchange for free email. Access to free email. I mean, customers don't seem to care.
But I feel like that stems from lack of education on how all of that stuff works, right? people
You
in
could be
this
true. Could be
community,
true.
the
Could be
the
true.
80 to 100 people that are watching this probably have a good grasp of how that all of that stuff plays into, your ad profile online that all these companies have on you, and how they broker data behind closed doors through loopholes and stuff so they can build profiles to personalize your ads. The average customer either doesn't want to know, or they're just not fully in tune enough to understand.
I think your point is very valid, Ian. I really, really do. But I would point to the fact that the 80 to 85 to 100 people who are listening right now probably have a Gmail account. And the people who choose to invest, if they are investing, even if they're just, any basic ETF, what ETF doesn't have Google in it, Facebook in it, in its stock portfolio? So yeah, I hear what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. But I think people vote with their wallet, and it doesn't seem to amount to a hill of beans. People seem to be willing, based on their actions, to trade some semblance of security and personal privacy in exchange for access to whatever good or service they need that they find value in. For example, free email.
Well,
So I mean, I don't
I
know.
I think so. I think education, like there's a portion of consumers out there that don't understand, or they understand their data is being collected, but they don't understand, like they don't care because they don't understand what kind of impacts or ramifications that could have. But then I think there's another larger segment that is at least conceptually aware at this point, considering it has become a marketing point for a lot of companies. And we're in America where privacy is, like, I would say, pretty important to a lot of people. But they just accept the fact that, like, some portion of data is going to have to, or just has to be given up in order for these services to work, right? Like, B touched on Google. Google is such an integral fundamental part to the internet, right? Like our web browser is Chrome, right? You have to have, well, you don't have to have, but realistically, you darn near have to have a Gmail to take advantage of the full ecosystem that Google provides as far as syncing your bookmarks across devices, Google Drive storage, right? Different things. And even if you weren't using Google Drive, you're gonna have to have a Microsoft email then to have Windows, right? Like your information is being captured by Windows. So people just accept the fact that they want to function in society, some level of information is going to be given up, and they just kind of accept that. But you could still fight for a little bit more control where you can, or ask, or even if it's not about the data being given up, ask to have control or know what's being collected. I feel like there's been a big push on. And then there's the people that just don't care at all, like you were touching on, right? They're like, or I'm sorry. And then there's the people that do care, and they're niche and far and few in between. They go through the layers of trying to remove themselves. But for those people that try to remove themselves from anything, what they don't realize is that it's not a zero-sum game. Like, if you were super clean and didn't use a single online product, like you literally lived under a rock, but you walk past my house at any point, you've already had data collected about you, right? Like my security cameras have already uploaded stuff about you to the cloud, and if I have your phone number, right, and I have a Facebook and you're in my contacts, your phone number's already been shared, right? Like, there's not really a way to escape it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the effort is not worth it. But I want to pivot real quick. I want to gaslight B here a little bit.
Can I get to the super chat real quick?
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, let's do that.
All right. Emo, thank you for the super chat, bud. He said S24 Plus or Pixel 8 Pro, would like to use foreign eSIM when I travel. I'm stuck on the only carrier without global roaming and perks. Which carrier is that?
US
I'm gonna guess
Cellular?
AT&T.
Oh man, AT&T's global roaming is really good.
It is, but I think it's not like de facto included in the plan. Like, it costs money. Verizon has the travel passes included in some of their plans, I think, right?
Right. Okay. All right. I guess it depends on your plan. Okay. So, I don't know, man. The Pixel 8 Pro is a world phone. I don't know, since the S24 is going to be unlocked, so I guess that is too. eSIM, I guess, is better on the Pixel than the Galaxy. I Maybe that's the factor. Maybe it's the activation piece. Maybe it's not so much the phone itself, but just the activation part.
I mean, I personally think the Samsung would be the better option, and here's why. When you go travel abroad, most countries that you're going to go to when you want to activate, you're going to need to use a eSIM. I ran into that problem when I was in Amsterdam. So that Samsung is going to have a eSIM, and then Samsung specifically is more widely recognized and supported by those international networks when I've traveled than the Pixel, which is more of an I don't want to say it's an American brand because Pixel definitely sells in other places, but like Samsung, you're gonna have a better time with Samsung is what I'll say. Like I would actually recommend the Samsung, assuming that you put your primary line on eSIM from the States and then use the eSIM when you're going to these other places, because you're not going to find many countries where you're going to be able to activate via eSIM, unless you have like an actual residence and can get like on a postpaid account, because that's typically the scoop. Because a lot of the prepaid MVNOs do not have eSIM support internationally, unfortunately.
Come on, I think you're going to have to do a little bit of homework on the carriers you plan on activating. That might make your life a little bit easier. Maybe a little bit of research, homework, and preparation so you don't make the wrong decision when you get there. Right. So hopefully that helps. And thanks for the super chat. Thanks for being a member and supporting us. EM, you wanted to do one last thing before we close out the show?
Yes, I need the power of the panel members and the live chat to convince this man to use Google Messages, because he doesn't use Google Messages.
EM, stop it.
This dude is using the default Messages app that came with his S23, which is, the Verizon
How's it working
Messages
for you,
app.
B?
Honestly, man, the Verizon Messages app works just fine for me.
There's no RCS support. No RCS.
Yeah, that's the problem. Back when we were texting, B, you were the only person who wasn't on iMessage that also wasn't on RCS with me. So I'm like, what?
Can you guys give me some insight on what the benefit of RCS messaging is, please?
Larger.
Let me know what's up.
Larger file sizes, like when you send a picture to us, instead of it being compressed to less than 1 meg to fit within MMS standard, it'll be a much higher resolution. I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but is it 100 megabytes is the file transfer limit on RCS that Google does? Is that correct?
It's significantly higher, whereas SMS is like kilobits.
Well, wouldn't it be SMS? It'd be it would be
or MMS. Sorry.
And it would be 1 meg is the cap. So that's one, and that's a really big one. But the second aspect is that RCS is a data driven messaging platform, so that will send seamlessly and easily over Wi-Fi or cellular, versus something like Wi-Fi calling where it needs to be converted and rerouted over the network.
B, all the cool kids are doing it. Come on, B.
The third
peer pressure.
The third aspect is read and write. Fourth is going back to is group chats. RCS allows you to actually leave a group chat or add people to the group chat, unlike an MMS, which is super inconvenient and annoying. It's the thing that's got me so excited that iPhone's finally supporting. You should do it. I didn't even know Verizon set it as default anymore. That must have been a carryover when you use transfer stuff, because I'm like 99% sure, like when one of my family members got a Samsung, I'm pretty sure Google Messages was the default option. I don't even think it was Verizon.
When I set up my Fold, it gave me the option. But for shits and giggles, I downloaded the Verizon Messages app and I switched it as my default, and then RCS worked just fine with him. So it's like their RCS protocol doesn't support the universal profile or whatever.
Yeah, that's like AT&T, where they have the two. They have the 1.0 version of advanced messaging on like older devices, and then the current one. Yeah, no. B, for the love of God, man, join the party. I didn't know you were doing something barbaric. Jesus, man. RCS.
It's a text message. I'm sending the text, yo, I'll be there soon. Yo, Sneed, what's going on? Get a photo, chick sending you some titties. I don't know, man. I mean, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
They would look. That
those
picture
cities
would
are
look
gonna be
better with
pixelated.
RCS. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's facts, bro. That's facts.
I mean, all right. Well, I mean, so what I got to do here? I'm in the Verizon Messages app right now. We'll talk offline. Thanks for putting my business out in the street in front of all these 100.
Hey,
You know,
hey,
gotta get on
Sneed
Google,
had
bro.
the same issue,
Oh,
same
God.
issue, same concern. We got Moose, Dennis, Sneed, and myself all agreeing on something.
We all up in there, bro.
yeah, that's a rarity. But yeah, I didn't know. I mean, look, EM was just helping out a friend. Sometimes you got to call it the savagery. Real friends do that.
One of us. One of us.
I mean, I'm gonna be a blue bubble boy, but
I mean, I really do like the Verizon Messages app. I think it's pretty clean. So, are you saying I got to get rid of the app, or are you saying I got to change the setting within the app?
no, you gotta use a different app. You use Google Messages app, like it's its own app, and then you use that.
Well, Em, you just said that you were able to get RCS to work in the
When
Verizon Messages
he
application
used-
as well, right?
You got it to
When-
work when he used the Verizon messaging app to talk to you.
Which
So-
then disabled Google Messages.
Yes.
All right, so then RCS works, right?
No.
Only if both parties have that stupid app.
Bro, get in Google Messages right now. Download it. Do what you got to do. Make it your default. Stop messing around, bro.
B. Let me make it simple. Okay. Verizon Messages is akin to WhatsApp. Okay. If EM were to use WhatsApp and you use WhatsApp, you guys can talk to each other and have a grand old time. If you don't, then you're talking over normal SMS with a 160 character limit and all the archaicness of a 1990s standard.
Sneed,
yeah,
do you get my text messages?
I do.
Are you able to read them clearly?
I can.
Em, do you get my text messages?
Barely.
Oh, what a jerk! All right, all right.
It's going to change your life, bro. You get to see the dancing little dots when they're typing and shit. It's cool shit, bro.
The same thing happens with Verizon Messages. It
No,
says
you
right
don't
there.
get to see dancing dots, bro.
I
Stop playing.
don't care about that. It says
This argument reminds me. This argument's like saying like, B, do you get my letters in the mail in 2 weeks? You do.
Wait.
Is it
There's
clear?
another point. There's another point that we forgot to mention. With Google Messages, right? With the first party OEM, or actually not even OEM, first party architecturally, right? App, there's consistent security updates. Consistently. With Verizon, I cannot say the same because Google has sophisticated their messaging, and I just read on 9 to 5 Google that everything is going to include Bard or Gemini now. So that's an additional effort.
And encryption as well.
Yeah, and encryption. So there's multiple different reasons here. Like this is a no-brainer. I would be like, if I was an Android guy and I was exclusively on Android, I would definitely be using a first-party app.
Bro, if I was on iOS and I could use RCS, I would choose that over iMessage. 100%.
I would agree if everyone on iPhone if everyone was using RCS. I would agree. RCS is basically what every other messaging platform has been able to do now for the last 10 years. Like it's really something, B. Like I don't know why you would fight against it.
Yo, B's like, I've been drinking the same coffee for 15 years. I ain't changing shit.
That's why I use the example.
Same cup,
That's why
napkin,
because you guys read off a bunch of features that have not moved my spirit.
Listen,
So,
bro, you don't see the dancing dots. That's the problem,
The
bro.
dancing dots. I'm not changing for some damn dots.
Yes, you trust me.
I'm
it's
a grown man.
changer.
B, you don't
about
have
the dancing
issues.
dots, bro?
Hold on, you don't have issues sending videos or pictures to your loved ones.
Never, not once.
That's cap.
Never. I'm telling you, never, not
Listen,
once.
the last time you sent a video to somebody, they didn't even know it was you in it, bro. They didn't
Not
know
true,
who it
man.
was.
Not true. I'm telling you, man, the Verizon Messages application works just fine. I haven't had any issues at all.
I'm gonna go back to my analogy, man. Do you get my letters in the mail in 2 weeks? Are you able to read my handwriting? Oh, then that works just fine. I don't need a text messaging platform because that works just fine. That's the kind of argument that you're basically having. I swear to God.
I respectfully disagree. Just because every time I send a text message, it goes through very quickly. Nobody's ever had any issues getting my messages. There's been no problems. When people are texting me, it says right there, "Hey, person X is typing." I see it.
Listen,
what are we talking about?
Listen, Moose, you've taken us home before. EM, you've done it. Dennis, you've done it a million times. B, the show is over. Take us home. Moose, play the
music. I'm not worthy of doing that, Sneed.
All right, man. Who's gonna take us home? Wait,
hold up.
Moose, you want to take us home?
No. I'm saying there's way more coming this week. I mean, Jesus, we're only Wednesday, and there was a holiday on Monday.
Week, bro. Earnings is next week,
and we still got Ookla. We
got the Ookla. We haven't even talked about.
Nobody cares about Ookla.
You guys want to do Ookla tomorrow?
Nobody cares about. Please. Oh my God!
Nobody cares about Ookla.
I must do Ookla tomorrow.
No. Hold up. I am actually 100% wanting to talk about Ookla because Verizon is coming.
Shit.
Verizon is coming.
So, we've known that. We've known that for the last 18 months.
We talked about this. We've known.
Like, I mean, I'm not impressed anymore because I already know Verizon's coming for T-Mobile, and T-Mobile knows it. That's why
I'm tired of prices.
Hold on, don't you know? Never say nothing bad about no 5G goat. Now
I'm talking about those thongs, B.
Hey, but Steve, why don't we do something? For the sign off. Why don't we do a 1, 2, 3 and do it in unison?
What are we doing?
The sign off together instead of individually. We'll just say 1, 2, 3, and then we'll have a good night or whatever.
All right, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3 break. All right, we ready?
Yeah, got it.
All right, 1, 2, 3 break.
No one else did it. The hell.